Okay, well, welcome to the show, guys. We're going to need a 5x5 from you. Let us know if we're coming through because we've had some technical difficulties on our side. I'm not seeing the YouTube stream popping up yet.
Oh, well, there's a delay though, isn't there? I'm trying to bring it up on my channel.
It shouldn't be this big of a delay, and in the stream, everything is saying it's going.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I see deleted scenes is in there.
Gallery, I can tell you, it still says I'm waiting for you.
Yes, I know that. I'm seeing that on my side too.
Let's see here. Let me go to my link.
Oh, I'm even going to go to Twitter and see if it's coming through on Twitter.
I'm going through.
It's broadcasting live on Twitter. That I can tell you. So at least Twitter's getting it.
I have it on my YouTube.
There you go.
Okay.
Let me refresh on the YouTube on mine.
Apparently, it's live on mine.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone.
Still not seeing it on mine, but sorry, everybody. If you're multi-streaming, because I know like Connie Cleary, you stop by and say hi to everybody. Just pick one where you can hear us. That's what.
And let Troy know if it's on his yet. Maybe he's just not seeing it on his end. Welcome everybody.
Deleted is saying that he hears it. So there we go. So I've seen two comments saying hello.
Welcome everybody to Geeky Geezers. I'm your host, Agent Boomer. This is my co-host, Pacelli.
I am really not drunk. This is not a drinking problem. This is a platform problem.
Something that may be an issue.
What?
I'm looking at the date that you have for Geeky Geezers, and it says 22nd March. Today's 23rd.
Well, how is it? It should still be showing live.
It's showing live on my channel. Can
yes,
everybody
but it might
hear
be
me?
confusing people because it says March 22nd.
He doesn't see the chat.
But that's just the title. That's not what I set it for.
Yes.
Let me go to my editing.
I see you and hear you. I don't see the chat, he says. Okay. Netters Network. I see Netters Network in my chat.
I am in your chat.
Okay. Hi. I get a hi. So hello, everybody. Welcome. And
and all that is the title. I have the scheduled stream for the right time. So
okay, that's fine. We'll
it does not care what the title is.
We can change the title after the stream. It's fine.
That's true. That's true.
Welcome everyone to Geeky Geezers. I'm your host.
Agent this is Boomer. A very professional show, everybody. Just
This is my co-host, Pacelli. Welcome everybody.
Hello.
Well, while we wait for people to pile in, provided they can see it, I know my stream is up, so it should be fine.
Okay. From the Peanut Gallery, I can tell you that my stream is live. Boomer's stream is live. Mine still says waiting for Troy Pacelli. On yours, sweetie.
Yes, I've gotten that. So who cares? I can't stream it tonight for whatever reason. Let's just go on with the show. I'll re-upload it later.
This is what happened with the Batman Returns last call on my channel, I think. It kept saying waiting for Agent Boomer. It's a similar thing. And all I know is one time, like when I dropped out and came back in, I thought I clicked something that screwed that up. But anyway, well, I'm sorry we'll be missing your stream, but hopefully people know to stop on by.
And you know what? Yeah. I just went into my stream through the what do you call it? And it's oh shoot. Why is it doing that now?
I don't know.
And it's playing. So I'm the only person though that I'm seeing right now in my stream is JPRPH1. So
could be an off night. Maybe people are busy.
Oh, wait a minute. I wonder if you have two streams for you because I only see Connie Cleary in yours. In me, I don't see JPRPH1
you know what I did? You know what I did see when you were loading up? I did see both Last Call and Troy Pacelli as separate people. In the people you were adding. Do you understand?
Well, no, because I also have it going out on X. That might be.
Oh, that's why. That was the one for X. Okay. Well, I don't know. Anyway, welcome everybody. Would you like some good news before we start the stream?
I would. What good news do you have?
Well, I found out who the main producer was for Blade Runner 2099. Her name is Silka Luisa, and she was the main producer behind the Halo TV series that everybody hated and said it didn't follow the lore. And That's not good news. I just thought I'd bring that out.
How much does the producer have to do with the show besides,
On television, it's more creative hands-on. I know that much. But we'll see. Maybe it'll be good, huh?
We'll see. We will see. Yeah.
No. Everyone hated the Halo show. I think I covered a couple stories about it earlier, but I was never a Halo person, but Halo fan.
What matter?
You have 2 streams, sweetie.
Well, then ignore the one that's not playing. We need to actually broadcast now.
There we go. Anyway, you could always private the one that's not playing.
I will. That's what will happen.
Anyway, welcome everybody to Geeky Geezers, and we got an exciting stream tonight, I think. Unfortunately, a couple more celebrity deaths, which isn't good, but we will pay them the respect they're owed. And I'm trying to think what else has been going on tonight, this week.
There's been a lot, not necessarily stuff we usually talk about here, but it's,
We will be doing a box office update for next week of this weekend, and I think we'll have more than one story about the Snow White that came out. Welcome, Timey-Wimey.
Not directly related to tonight's stream, but last Friday, or 2 nights ago, last call, that stream, which wow, I went on for more than 4 hours, Boomer. So it was like well after you went to sleep.
It was nearly 4.5 hours.
4.5 hours.
What did you guys talk about?
We talked about a lot of different aspects about Hasbro and the stupidity of their business model. And both Michael and I had plenty to say about that. Michael French from Retro Blasting was my guest for, like I said, over 4 hours. And then honestly, even after we shut down the stream, he and I were still chit-chatting in the back.
And I kept trying to get him to let him go.
I know. But the reason I'm bringing it up is that I wanted to share that it was my most watched stream of the year by a factor of 4.
Okay.
It also garnered me 2 new memberships, and my subscriber number is now over 1,600. So I'm pretty excited about that. Want to start making a push for 2,000 before the end of the year.
I think 2,000 could be in the could be in the future. Yeah,
and so I'm really fired up about that. So I gotta reach out to Michael and thank him for that, because I know that a lot of the people that joined us on Friday were coming over from his side.
And we still have to have him back on for the follow-up to the James Bond discussion. Maybe we'll finally have a Bond casting announcement by the time he's on again.
Well, that's what I'll probably do. I'll mention to him that eyes are still on that part 2 of the, and I did mention it during the stream. Eyes are on him for the part 2, and let's make that the goal. As soon as we hear any casting ideas, we'll reach out to him and say, hey, let's do it.
Yeah.
Talk about the casting, talk about past castings, talk about the other movies you didn't get to last time.
Yes, I agree. But we'll be doing Doctor Who this Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Our retrospective, provided nothing else comes up before then. And that should be an interesting discussion. I figure we'll do the first 3 Doctors and then work our way up in subsequent streams at some point. But anyway, tonight we're going to talk about let's bring the presentation up.
Yeah. Here we go. There's the presentation. There we go.
And we're going to talk about the good old days, as we often do. And
this
welcome, Sashi, our man from the future, as a deleted scene says.
Absolutely. I'm a little concerned about this, what you're calling the good old days, because usually when we talk about the good old days, we're talking about subjects from like when we were kids, when we were growing up. I don't feel like this was that long ago.
All right, I need
good old days.
Okay, well, let's go here, and I'm going to explain to you why it is.
Okay.
Surprise,
because it's
surprise.
Longer, it's farther back than I recall, right?
Tron Legacy. Basically, anything before 2014, in my opinion, is the good old days. Anything prior to 2014. 2014 is when I feel that the the infestation began in popular culture. The infestation was not in Disney, or at least not into the degree that it is now when this came out. This is Tron Legacy. This is the sequel to the original Tron from, I believe, what was it, 81 or 82? That's when it came out.
Yeah.
And we had. I want to make a point that this movie at this point is 15 years old.
Man, yeah. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is why it makes me feel old. It's like something 15 years old. Yes, I can see your argument that 15 years old is kind of good old days, but at the same time, it's like, oh, am I getting this old? I'm getting decrepit, and I got one foot in the grave here, guys.
Supposedly, Tron Ares is coming out this year, but if it were to get postponed till next year, 2026, maybe Disney decides to postpone it, we will have 16 years between these two movies, which is the same period between Return of the Jedi and Phantom Menace. Think about that.
Interesting.
So at this point,
Tron I wonder Legacy, if would that be the longest period of time between films in a trilogy? If you consider them a trilogy, that is.
No, I don't think we can at this point, but we'll get to that another day.
Okay.
I know nothing about Tron Ares. I'm trying to find information. All I know about it is it comes out in October. It's going to have Jared Leto in it.
If you want to know more about, and let's face it, all we know is press releases and rumors.
Yeah.
But the one who's really keeping up on that is Nerd Cookies is doing a great job of covering that. She's a lore master. She's big on Dune and Warhammer and all kinds of different franchises. But Blade Runner was another one. But Tron was one that she's covered a great deal, and a lot of speculation about what's going on with Tron Ares. What I like about her is she tends to look at these franchises the same way we do. So she's trepidatious about the same things, and has the same concerns. But when she hears something that makes her, hopeful, she'll talk about that. And some of the things she's talked about we haven't even gotten to Legacy yet. And here I am talking about Ares.
No, but it's okay.
One of the things she was saying about Ares that she was concerned about, that I think all of us, I think I've verbalized this back when we talked about the original Tron movie, is Legacy, whatever you think of it, whether you think it was the best or could have been better, sequel to the original, it introduced new characters that we, were really, really good.
Yes.
Quora, played by Olivia Wilde.
Yes.
And Sam Flynn. Those two characters, I mean, look, you don't go decades between films and then just tell it all about the same characters. You've got to introduce a new generation of characters. And that's perfectly fine. And when you do it well, which I feel Tron Legacy did, and you make us like these characters, don't just friggin' abandon them. You can't set up a possible story and then whoever it is comes in to do Ares and go, yeah, I got another story I want to tell. Screw those people, And from what Nerd Cookies was saying, it sounds like there's at least going to be acknowledgement of them, and the story's going to be in some way related. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. If you don't get, the same actors back or whatever, if they're not going to physically be in the movie, that's fine. But I want to know that their story is continuing, and you're not doing some sort of ignoring that. And you know what I'm saying?
But the big problem with this is that we should have gotten a sequel a couple years later, and now it's 15. So I don't even know if they could do the proper sequel that they had wanted to do to Tron Legacy now at 15 years later. I mean, Olivia Wilde and the actor who played Garrett Hedlund, who played Sam Flynn. I mean, they're not as young as they used to be. They would be more like the Jeff Bridges character at the beginning of Tron Legacy when he's middle aged and he's talking to his son. But yeah, let's move along. So here we have this is a lot of promotional stuff for it. I do give Disney points. They really were pushing this movie. I think it did well but maybe not super well. That's what I've heard. But I don't know the full story around that. This, I believe, was a holiday release when it came out. And
yes, I think you're right. Yeah.
Big push for 3D. But what's interesting about Tron is that the original Tron introduced, in my opinion, it was really the first movie to start introducing these virtual computer animated backdrops that the actors would inhabit. Before we had stuff like the later Star Wars movies and things like that. So to have Tron now come back after that technology has been further pioneered, and now we're making another Tron movie. Well, what can they do now with the advances in computer animation and what that's happened since the original Tron? And what they did was create an amazing looking film. I'll say that. I mean, if anyone has faults with the plot, which I don't necessarily, but I think visually it's a stunning movie.
I would argue that this is a good thing. This isn't a bad thing. It's serendipity, if nothing else.
Yeah.
If you look at just what you have on the screen right now, that promotional still.
Yep.
You look at that, especially with the, your eye is pulled to the center, which draws your mind back to imagery from the original, right? The
yes,
I can't remember I'm pretty sure it was like Bruce Boxleitner in the center with I forget the girl's name who was in it
in the original.
then. Yeah. But the bright lights offset by the dark, a very dark background, dark lighting, and it was very visually stunning back in the day when the original Tron came out.
Yes.
Now, for most other things, I would say unfortunately, but fortunately for Tron, this very much fits the Hollywood aesthetic these days, where everything is friggin' dark,
yes.
And it's like, this is the one time where I look at it and I go, this is where it's appropriate, and this is where it works, and I'm fine with it. So I think it benefits, positively in that regard,
Mm-hmm. So, let's see. Moving on.
Cindy Morgan, yeah. That's right. Thank you very much.
There's Sam Flynn. I do want to give the actor, what would I say his name was? Garrett Hedlund points, because in my opinion, he does act like the son of Sam Flynn. He has some of his mannerisms remind you a little bit of Jeff Bridges, though he's really his own man. You know what I mean in this, but you can kind of see how he is the son of Flynn in this movie. Long story short, he's still the majority stockholder of Encom, but he doesn't like the stuff their company is up to. Like, I know Bruce Boxleitner's character from the first movie is like, so what have we added to this new software that we're charging college students so much for? And he says, we just put a 12 on the box. And I guess the chairman of the board laughs or something.
In fairness, I think that's a great commentary on the way, software is packaged these days, even gaming and stuff. And I mean, this is how films always used to be, good commentary on contemporary things. Nothing controversial about it, just, knowing your audience and how they feel about things, right?
Yeah. Oh, behold the son of our maker. Remember that?
Yes.
The programs are worse in this movie than they were in the original. They're all following Clue. To be fair, there were programs that resisted Clue, and you could find out more about that in the animated series.
I would say that, as you would expect in this kind of a film, there's a lot of religious allegory here that's pretty on the nose, but it works so well in this setting. You're almost foolish not to, right?
Yeah. Garrett Hedlund is on Tulsa King now. He bounced back. That's who that is. He's got a beard on Tulsa King. I kept saying, I know him. What do I know him from? I never bothered looking it up. Okay, he's great on Tulsa King.
And his hair, I think, is darker. I think.
I
don't know if it's the lighting or what, but his hair was much lighter there.
He's like a country guy that befriends Stallone's character and becomes part of his group. So he's like a local guy. He'd been to jail too. So it's interesting how his character, even though he's Italian, New York Italian mafia, he befriends all these locals in Tulsa to basically become part of the crew, because he basically got exiled in New York. And
wait a second, real quick, I'm going to bring up a comment. Sure. Hemmy Wimey Limey, welcome, by the way. Yes. Is it a reboot or a sequel? We need to know. Are you talking about Tron Ares? Because
or
if
is he
you
talking
are
about this one,
We don't know, but we can definitely say that Tron Legacy was absolutely a sequel. There was, well, you know what? Let me be careful saying that, because I want to point out that technically every sequel is a reboot if you want to get pedantic. And the longer there is between a film and its sequel, the more you have to call it a reboot. Ghostbusters Afterlife, for example, was a direct sequel, but absolutely a reboot. It's just, you know,
what they called in the one Scream movie a requel. Here's what it is. This is where I felt that this idea came about, where it's like, is this a reboot or a sequel? Because yes, it is a sequel. It takes place in the same universe. This is about the son of Flynn, but I think it also has to sort of reintroduce the universe to a new audience.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of time wasted, but I was actually rewatching this earlier today while I was putting the presentation together. I had it on the background, and there are things this movie does that are rather brilliant. In the original Tron, when Jeff Bridges, when Flynn gets digitized into the computer world, right, the grid, it's this very elaborate scene where he gets micro like transitioned or whatever, out of himself and into the world, and you see all these fancy computer graphics. What happens in this, it's very quick, and I actually appreciate the fact that they didn't make it look the same in the sequel. I can't explain why.
And it's almost a shorthand for saying, look, back then it was way more analog. Just think about what it was like getting online and communicating a picture would come up on your screen, and it would be zzz, 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 zzz. And now it's just, you got streaming movies and stuff, and if there's so much as a little hiccup, you're like, what's going on? What's going on? Yeah, well, wait a minute. Remember 30 years ago,
the dial-up and loading a floppy disk on. Let's be honest here.
Exactly. Oh, it took. People don't realize how long it took. The system did not hold any of that resident, so it had to read the entire disk before it could prepare for the game. And then every time you'd change chapters or whatever, it would have to go through the process all over again to get reset. You'd almost have time to go make a sandwich and come back.
I remember
those games you couldn't even save them. You had to start all over.
Some of them, that's true. Yeah.
I remember we had tape deck games for the Atari 800 computer, and those took a while to load. So back then, when you wanted to play one of these fancy computer games, which was still fancier than what you get on like an Atari 2600, the trade-off was you had to have some patience as these things loaded up. This was not. I mean, this is why when we got the Nintendo, and I'm like, I stick the cartridge in, and the game comes on, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, there's no wait time. Because up until then, we had cartridges on the 800, but they were simple games like Dig Dug or Pac-Man. They weren't like the more complex adventures. Exactly. But we of course have the I'll say the lovely Olivia Wilde in this. Some men don't like Olivia Wilde. I always thought there's something about her eyes. I thought she looked good in this. I kept thinking that her look was made to make her look like Joan of Arc. But
that would be very much in keeping with, like I said, the whole religious allegory.
Yeah, that's what I thought, and then I find out later on, no, it was based off Karen O, the singer Karen O instead. But maybe there was.
Maybe we're giving them too much credit when something is like, oh yeah. And see, this is the other thing. I think if I was a writer, director, producer in the films or something like this, and someone said that, I'd be like, yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
My intent. Or be the David Lynch thing and just say, oh, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Okay, now that you say it that way, that's probably exactly what David Lynch was getting at. Oh, that's very
I have no idea who she is, and I saw this movie in theaters. She was a big actress that would pop in things in the aughts. Like, she showed up in that...
What was that show? A House MD, I think, was the only thing I knew her from.
She was on House. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. She was on House. She was in the movie Cowboys and Aliens. It was a stage name. She named it after her favorite writer, Oscar Wilde. That's why she took the name Wilde.
Well, that makes sense.
Jeff Bridges is back as Kevin Flynn, who got stuck in the grid after his alter ego program he created, Clue, revolted against him.
Yeah.
And that's another weird thing about Clue. Clue has many personality aspects of Kevin Flynn too, except he's evil, basically, right? I mean,
right.
At least in his mind, he's not evil because he's trying to create the perfect system because that's what he was programmed to.
And that does. Okay, so again, it's very clear, the son of our maker, obviously. So you have Jeff Bridges as the God allegory. You've got Sam, obviously, as the Jesus allegory. That makes Clue the Lucifer allegory.
What is Cora then? The Holy Spirit? I don't know. I don't know. Cora could be something.
Mary Magdalene. I don't know.
Okay. Anyway. Okay. Moving on. And there we have Rinsler.
Were there action figures Rinsler. for this movie? Because there should have been.
There were a few not made to the level. I did look into some of them. They made figures around this time for the original Tron as well, I believe. I didn't get any of the figures for this. I was tempted to get the Lego set. They did do a Lego set. It was just a light cycle set. And I came close to picking it up. And it came with Sam, Flynn, Rinsler, and Cora. They were the 3 Lego characters. And I came very close to getting the Tron Legacy Light Cycles Lego set, but I didn't.
Okay, so I just looked. I saw a Jarvis and Blackguard in action figure. Looks like it was a Toys R Us exclusive. I'm seeing this on eBay. These look to me like they might be 3 3/4 inch action. Well, 4 inch. Okay. So these would be close to being in scale with the original figures if you got them, but they're not in the same style. I think that's a bit of a miss.
Yeah. I think he has the original figures in the movie when was it Kevin Flynn is trying to explain the story of the original Tron, which is important because it means Sam at least is familiar with what happened in the grid. Yeah. So, because his dad used to tell him to his bedtime stories, and he had the little Tron action figures that he was explaining who these different characters were.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
And I wonder if they were vintage Tron action figures that he was using.
Probably.
Let me see. Someone had asked in the chat if there was a animated cartoon series. Yes, there was, with the voice of Elijah Wood, Trisha Hefner, I think that's her name, from the Battlestar Galactica. She was on it. Olivia Wilde did a cameo as Cora on it as well in a flashback episode when they were explaining what happened with the ISOs. It fills in the gap between Tron Legacy and the original Tron. I thought it was an excellent animated series. Canceled too soon, but that might be a topic for another night.
So Jesse's talking about that Disney cartoon series. It was canceled prematurely. Yeah. I do believe that Cameron Pasha used to write for it.
Yeah.
And I, at the risk of making you hate Disney all the more, it was all having to do with politics. That's why they got rid of the show.
What I had heard, and I thought this was an odd statement, that someone behind the scenes at Disney said he didn't want the show. He was worried the show was going to get a furry-like following, which made zero sense to me because the characters in Tron, the program characters, look like human beings because they're basically
they're reflective either of the he doesn't understand what a furry is, right, or he doesn't understand what fandom is. Either way, the person's a moron and should not be making decisions about a franchise. Seriously.
And this from the company that made Zootopia like a year or two later.
You're not wrong there.
I'm just saying it didn't make any sense to me. But anyway, but that's the idea behind what I always got the impression, at least from the first Tron movie, that these programs that we see in the computer, the reason they look like people is that they're supposed to be reflective of the person typing on the keyboard on the other side, right?
Right.
So, and of course, there are a lot more programs in the grid because I think at this point there are a lot more people using computers, right?
Yeah.
That was than back in the day. But there is Clue. We have a weird CGI face, Jeff Bridges' face. My one criticism of this movie, when they did the flashback to him talking to his son as Kevin Flynn, and they show the CGI face, it looks off. I wish they would have done like something more along the lines of like what they did at Forrest Gump, where they found footage from another Jeff Bridges movie and kind of interspliced it. However, for Clue, our antagonist, the villain of this movie, I think the creepy CGI face is perfect.
Yeah, it makes
because
sense, right? Because he
yes,
is a program, right? That makes sense.
yeah, that
And
there's something off about him. Yes,
I would even argue that in the opening of the movie, you don't even show him. You show it from his perspective, so you
yep.
don't even have to see him, and
Well,
it's
for a
just
while they
his
were just showing the
voice.
back of his head, so just leave
Yeah,
it that way.
exactly. Or have another actor, a stand-in playing him, never show his face. Just
Yeah,
have his
and I thought
voice.
that's
Yeah,
what they were going to do. And then they had to do this one thing where he turns his head and says, "We're all on this. We're always on the same team, son." It was a nice sentiment, but I don't think they should have showed his face.
yeah.
But it's a small gripe. There are other programs. This I pick her because that's Jam, and she's nice looking. In fact, there's a funny scene when he shows up, and like there are these four perfect models, two white and two black, come out of the shadows and start undressing Sam Flynn, and he says, "Whoa, it has a zipper." Remember that? And they give him a new uniform because he has to go fight in the games.
Right, exactly.
There's a wonderful scene where Sam Flynn they give him like a they give him like the handlebar, right, and he's like holding it like a lightsaber, right, and he says, "Okay,
Yeah,
how does this work? I'll give you a clue, not like that." That's what he says.
yeah, exactly.
Oh man, Martin Sheen, what was it? Hold on, what's his name? Not Martin Sheen. Michael Sheen is in
Michael
this
Sheen.
as
Right,
as
right.
Castor. Uh, There are a lot of shady programs in this movie, like ones you think are on the right side, because apparently he was helping with the resistance earlier on, but then he switched sides and now he works for Clue. So
Right.
that's spoiler if anyone hasn't seen this.
It sounds like real life, right?
Yeah.
People that are good turn bad, they get corrupted. It happens.
You learned from Tron Uprising, the show, and you see in this movie that a lot of the I think when they say rectify in this movie, what they're doing is they're taking programs and they're turning them into like zombified soldiers that follow Clue's commands, right?
Yeah.
And you learn that later. You learn later on why is Clue assembling an army? What's the purpose? And I thought it was very ingenious what they did in this. I thought it was interesting, at least, because of course we've seen what happens is, well, if a human being can get transported into the grid, can a program can a program get transported out of the grid into the real world?
Right.
You
Exactly.
know? And
Exactly.
that's what his plan is. He wants to send an
Honestly,
army
I
out.
didn't think about it until
Yeah.
after the movie. I started thinking about the implications of that, and I'm like, you create artificial life in the grid that then comes out into the real world. You've literally created life.
Yes.
That's freaky.
And I made a point that Cora before, she's a isomorphic algorithm. Like these were creatures that life forms that manifested in the grid. He says, I didn't make them; they just manifested, and he thought these could be the solution to, like all the world's problems. Like he's like, like cancer gone. Like we'll be able to have these algorithms help us
and
change
tell
the
me
world.
that
Yes.
again, talking about the religious allegory.
Yes.
Tell me the ISOs aren't angels. I mean,
That's a good allegory. It reminds me of an anime called Trigun, where these scientists that were trying to start an Earth colony on another planet, they were messing around with looking into other dimensions, and they grabbed two beings from another dimension, and they were these two blonde-haired boys. But as the show goes on, you realize, even though these blonde-haired boys didn't have too much knowledge of who they were, where they came from, you could tell these were some type of angel they pulled out. That's what they were. And it's another thing that sort of went for the religious allegory on that.
Sure.
But Daft Punk did the score for this. That's why I have
Daft Punk did a great job. They really, really did.
Yeah.
I mean, who was it who did the soundtrack for the original one? It very well integrates different composers, but still complementary techno punk type music.
Yeah, it worked. I have the score to this. I have I have a remix score to this as well, where they did a remix version. Love this. Do love this movie though. And of course the visuals. I'm not paying. I'm doing all these close ups. The scenery.
Yeah.
I like how all the villains, instead of having the red outline this time around, it's an orange outline. Because, well, maybe they're not really villains. Maybe they're not seen as villains by the community. But it's still distinguished as
It does
clues.
imply a level of moral ambiguity.
Yeah.
That might be the underlying implication.
Because there's no master control program in this movie, though I had heard they were saving him for the next one, that he was going to return.
Thank you. I knew it was a female composer. I just couldn't remember her name. Thank you so much on that.
And you know who did a couple songs for the original 2 instrumental songs? Journey.
Oh, really?
Which I thought was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Daft Punk did a very good job on the score for this film.
Absolutely, they did.
I heard that 9 Inch Nails is going to do the score for Tron Ares.
Is that true?
Yes.
I don't know enough about them to know if
it's not even Trent Reznor. No, they're actually calling it 9 Inch Nails. These go back to the band name. So industrial. It's going to have an industrial soundtrack. It might be good.
That could work. Could work.
If the tone is different, yeah. I heard
Welcome, Andy Masterson, the talented one. Thank you so much for being here, sir.
Jessica Gardo says, Troy, I heard they canceled Tron series for 2 low ratings and conflict with being counted with the third film. The third film they never made.
Right. Exactly. Exactly right. There was obviously some mismanagement of the franchise, along with, like I said, there was they were literally starting to play the whole DEI thing behind the scenes on who was going to be doing writing, and that's a big part of why it fell apart.
It's just too bad. In fact, it was originally supposed to be a limited series anyway. Then they made it a full series and they canceled it because I thought they were going to do it like a mini series originally.
Yeah.
But the light cycle scenes.
I love that. And again, they went with practical mock-ups of these, not just for filming, but for publicity stuff. Surrounding this. So that was, I think that was absolutely just brilliant.
I'll say this: the between the practical and the computer animation, it's fairly seamless in this movie.
Yeah,
I complain about CG. This is an example of computer animation, computer special effects done right in a movie.
Yes.
And
not to mention, what do we always say? Right tool for the right job. You're literally doing a movie about a world that takes place inside the computer. If there's a place to use CG, this is the place to use it, right?
Yeah. And going back to Kevin Flynn too, especially with Clue, like in this movie, Kevin Flynn realizes he made mistakes. That doesn't make him a bad guy. That doesn't make him a fallen hero.
If nothing else, it means
his intentions were good.
Yes. Yeah, and capable of changing and fixing things, right? Yes, I agree. By the way, Slasher Fred, thanks so much for being here. I think that Tron had inspired the entire virtual reality technology. Well, I think it was inspired by and did inspire. I think there's definitely that synergy there. Yeah.
But I mean, let's see here though. There's a close-up of Clue. We didn't get a good look at his face earlier, and there's that army I was telling you about.
Yeah.
That hey, let's I want to create the perfect system here. Now let's create the perfect system in the real world on Earth.
Right.
And I have no idea what he was planning to do in the real world. It was probably going to be terrifying. Did we go over the news about Warner Brothers selling off Looney Tunes cartoons? That is not coming, yet, Jesse.
It's in the notes. Yep.
In fact, I will say this. I don't know how Tron Ares is going to turn out. I have no opinion of it at this time. It is Disney, so that always gives me pause. But I'll say this. I don't see Disney selling off Tron. I don't see them selling off. I mean, they did ignore for a long time, but I'm getting off on a tangent here. Never mind. I'm not happy at that. I'm treating that as a rumor later, but I'm going to get into that talk. But here we go. Tron, there's the main poster, Olivia Wilde. And, even Cora and Sam Flynn there. And it's kind of reminiscent of the poster from the original movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's like the next generation. And there was a great, I'm going to spoil it. It's 15 years old. Okay.
Yeah, it is.
We don't know if Kevin Flynn survives because apparently when he would reintegrate himself with the original program, it would destroy them both. But he had to do it to save his son and to save Cora, who escaped to the real world. Now Cora's in the real world. And what can Cora do as an ISO in the real world? Would she have superpowers? I don't know.
Right.
And I was
does she now find herself like totally normal, and then having to deal with what it's like to be immortal. You know,
I don't know.
Probably that.
Yeah.
There was a wonderful scene in that when she's talking about all the great books that Kevin Flynn was having her read, but she says, "Between you and I, my favorite Jules Verne." And he says, "Do you know Jules Verne?" And he says, "Oh yeah, I know Jules Verne." And Sam says, "What's he like?" It's like,
yeah, exactly.
But she doesn't have the understanding that no, Jules Verne is dead.
He's dead. Yeah.
Time,
and that's just it, because they probably don't understand the concept of death. You know. And but that's also a linguistic difference too. Yeah. There's a context to that when you say, well, yeah, I know Jules Verne, I know Albert Einstein. You know their work, you know their reputation, you know what you assume people are talking about. You're not saying I know these people like I know Aged Boomer, you know. And most people understand that, but if your culture is based around these sentient, effectively immortal, you know, without a sense of time, programs, there's only one sense of knowing somebody, and that's having direct interaction with them. So, you know, that's amazing. And that's the kind of thing, just one or two lines tells you so much about these characters, where they come from, their culture, their background, the implications of what it is to be a program, you know?
Yeah, or to be ISO, or to be human. And, you know,
exactly.
And there's some good father-son moments in this too, between Sam and Kevin Flynn, because he hadn't seen him since he was like 6 years old,
right?
And they were reconnecting a little bit, and he was asking, like, he says, "So what's changed in the world?" And he says, "There's Wi-Fi. What's that? Wireless interlinking between digital devices." And then Kevin's like, "Oh, I thought of that in '85."
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So one thing about, and this isn't a spoiler because we don't know, one of the things that Nerd Cookies said about Ares, at least as of last year, was that Jeff Bridges was signed on to reprise his role.
He's in it, yes.
But what we don't know is what that role is going to be. Is he actually Kevin Flynn, or is he some computer echo of Kevin Flynn? We don't know. So the question of did he survive or not, we still honestly don't know.
Is Tron Legacy still canon? That's my other word. From what I know, it is, but I haven't had confirmation. And I'm like,
well,
what if they just decide Tron Ares? What?
We won't have real true confirmation until the movie comes out.
And that will be in
but
October.
Right now, yeah, all the rumors are implying that it is still canon, and whether or not these two characters reprise their roles, come back, whatever, that's a whole other question. But at least we know their characters existed, their story happened in terms of this. Yes, I agree with Jesse Guajardo, though. If you're going to call a film Tron Ares, it better be a war movie.
Yeah, well, I have a feeling the Jared Leto character, from what I hear, he might be the antagonist in the movie. I don't know. I know that there's going to be a character with the last name Dillinger in it, who's not the Cillian Murphy character who we had in this, because unless maybe they cast a different actor playing him in the new movie, because Cillian Murphy played the son of Dillinger, who was working for NCOM, which I think was them setting up that he was going to be a villain in a later movie, because you know,
right.
But yeah.
But yeah, and I think there was a previous slide you showed with that whole Red Army.
Yeah.
That if that doesn't play into Tron Ares, I think that's a huge missed opportunity.
No, there was one thing I noticed at the end of Tron Legacy, when he's leaving the Flynn's arcade. He throws a breaker switch on something, and I wonder if he threw a breaker switch on the grid in the basement. Now, I don't think him throwing a breaker switch, if he shuts off the grid, that means the grid is gone, because it's like a computer. It just gets frozen, right, until it gets turned back on again. But maybe he didn't want to take any risks of leaving it on. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just a little thing I noticed. Maybe it meant nothing, but anyway.
So I guess I have to address this, because it looks like there's still some weirdness going on my channel. Nate, I believe that there are 2 parallel streams on my channel. If you want to just leave the chat, go back to my main page, see what's live, and jump back in, you can do that. Otherwise, Netter and Boomer are both streaming the same stream.
So you can hop on.
No, the only person that was on your old one was Connie, and I said in a note for her to come here. But if anyone else goes there, they should see in the chat, hey, there's 2 streams, go to the other one.
Yeah.
Oh, and Geek Fight was that one. No, what's going on? We were just talking good old days about Tron Legacy, which we went on way too long, as usual.
It's the good old days. Let's talk about the good stuff as long as we can before we get into the, oh my gosh, here we go with the bad news.
What's the first story of the night?
Well, the first news is about as bad as you can get, because we've got to say our
farewell
to Big
George Foreman.
Yeah.
I mean, growing up, especially in the 90s, we all knew who George Foreman was, right? This was George Foreman, bigger than life in more ways than one. George Foreman captivated the hearts and minds of sports fans and found a place on the kitchen counter of many American homes.
That's true.
I'm sorry, he had a second career with that George Foreman grill.
Kind of did. That's true.
He had a George Foreman grill for many years. Yes.
Yeah.
And it worked. I mean, it was a good product.
I heard a lot of people go just rave about it. This whole element of it, you being able to grill on your countertop and drain grease out and stuff. I guess there was a lot of great benefits to it.
It's not the same as cooking on a grill outside. I mean, nothing's going to beat an open grill with charcoal or propane or whatever. But for something quick, it was better than shoving the hot dogs in a microwave. Okay,
that's for sure.
Anyway, I think it was better than frying stuff. Yeah, it was. Yeah, so a 2-time heavyweight champion, entrepreneur, author, and minister, Foreman died Friday, age 76, according to his family publicist. I didn't know he was a minister. Look at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Our hearts are broken with profound sorrow. We announce the passing of our beloved George Edward Foreman Sr., who peacefully departed on March 21st, 2025, surrounded by loved ones. Foreman's family announced on Instagram. A devout preacher, a devoted husband, a loving father, and a proud great-grandfather. He lived a life marked by unwavering faith, humility, and purpose. Big George, as he was adored by family, friends, and fans, was best known as a championship boxer. He won the heavyweight gold medal at the 1968 Mexico City Olympics before beating Joe Frazier in Jamaica to capture his first heavyweight championship as professional in 1973. The fight, dominated by Foreman, is well known for Howard Cosell's legendary call, "Down goes Frazier." Yeah. He then fought Muhammad Ali in 1974, a bout famously dubbed the Rumble in the Jungle. Foreman suffered the first loss of his career as a heavy favorite in Zari, dropped the title to Ali via 8-round knockout. The fight was one of the most watched television events in history at the time and served as a springboard to Ali deserving his moniker, the greatest. Though Foreman won a rematch against Frazier in 1976, he retired the following year after taking a second defeat at the hands of Jimmy Young. After 10 years away from the ring, Foreman returned in 1987 at age 38 and went on to win 12 straight fights before falling to Evander Holyfield via unanimous decision in 91. I remember that. Remember that?
Was that the one that was broadcast on pay-per-view?
I think so. I could be wrong. I think so. Yes, I remember the Holyfield fight. I remember people talking about that. Foreman regrouped, though. 3 years later, in 1994, the 45-year-old Foreman defeated 26-year-old Michael Moore to capture the WBA and IBF heavyweight titles, becoming the oldest man to ever win a world heavyweight championship in boxing. He ultimately relinquished the titles at 46 years, 169 days old, before retiring for a second time in 1997, having compiled a 76-5 career record with 6 to 8 knockouts. I mean, talk about a real-life Rocky, if you think about it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
CluuStudios has a great comment. The Ali versus Foreman fight was brutal. You felt those hits. Yes.
Yes. Oh, wow. Okay.
That's what heavyweight boxing was meant to be, and it's almost like they brought back that level of fight. And that's why they were so popular.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say this, just hearing everything, I mean, talk about a man that lived a full life. I'm sure he made a great impact on the world and the community, and he'll be missed. But I mean, think about all the hats he wore. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
But he also served as the spokesman for the George Foreman Grill, which was introduced in 1984, became a worldwide sensation with a report of 100 million units sold in the first 25 years of existence. Foreman is survived by his wife, Mary Jo Martley, and 12 children, 5 sons and 7 daughters.
Right.
Big George famously named all of his boys George Edward Foreman, so they would always have something in common. Oh, that must get confusing.
I think there was like George the First, George the Second, George the Third.
How they, yeah. Oh my goodness.
This is my brother George. This is my other brother George. This is my other brother George.
Oh, that'd be funny. I'm expecting they'll have a biopic about him in the coming years, probably. I think in movies. Yeah. But rest in peace. And it's funny. I'm seeing the creepy skull face when I post your article. Big Al had posted a link to his channel about his Snow White review, and I also saw the creepy face on that earlier.
I'm sorry, man. Nothing we can do about it. At least it's not holding up the.
No. But I was arguing for the Snow White review. Maybe the creepy face is appropriate.
Well, there you go. Fair enough. That's right. One more.
And, let's move on to.
Yeah.
And hold on. I thought I posted this. All right. And Star Trek, Marvel, and DC Comics editor Margaret Clark passes away at age 69.
Yeah.
Now, you're familiar with her work more than myself, though I know of those Star Trek comics. I'd like to read them someday. They're probably.
I am a huge fan of that DC run of Star Trek. So in between, let's see, it had to have been Star Trek 3 and Star Trek 4. There was, well, actually, DC's story goes to before Star Trek 3. But it's obviously, like continuing voyages, the Enterprise, no bloody A, B, C, or D, right? This is before that.
Yeah,
but it is the refitted Enterprise with the Monster Maroon, bomber jackets and so forth. Savick is a character and so forth. And, of course, because they wanted to try to... You don't want to do too much with the mainline characters and possibly run afoul of canon. So they started introducing other characters. There was, before there was Chakotay, there was a Native American character who was one of the regulars. Before there was Worf, there was a Klingon officer in Starfleet. It's been so long, I'm actually drawing a blank on their names. But then after Star Trek 3, they had to find ways to tell their story, and they did. They had this very interesting thing that they did that they had to. Of course, in Star Trek 3, they bring back Spock.
Yes.
Or no, wait a minit. Yes,
at the end of Star Trek 3,
they bring back Spock, but then at the beginning of Star Trek 4, there's the implication that no time has happened, and they had Spock running around with them doing stories like everything was fine. So there was this great wrap up of the DC storyline at the time, so that something's going wrong with the mind meld that what was it? The Kolinar that they transferred his mind and his brain engrams were degenerating, so they had to rush him back to Vulcan.
And Kirk has to steal the Enterprise again.
No, the only ship that was available was the Bird of Prey.
Oh,
right.
Okay, all right.
And
if you do this again, Kirk, you'll really be in trouble this time. We let you go the last time.
There was definitely that element in the story. There's a little bit of tongue-in-cheekedness of it, but it was, and even as you're reading these stories, you're like, man, they've really gone out of their way not to run afoul of canon. This is actually pretty cool. And there was nothing in the in-between year that, you could take it or leave it. If you're a Trek fan, as far as your head canon about it. But they were really good stories. I remember really, really enjoying them. And the artwork was actually better than it had any right to be. You could tell who it was that you were seeing, which wasn't always the case with a lot of these adaptations of actors as characters. You know what I mean? Like DC also had the rights to do the V series, and I can't remember what. Oh, of course, they always did the movie adaptations for Batman, Superman, Supergirl, and so forth.
Sure.
With varying degrees of skill at portraying Michael Keaton as Batman or whomever. But I felt that this one was a great in between of photorealistic enough to recognize them, but still clearly comic book art. I would have
loved to have read them, actually, because I do. That's my favorite period of Star Trek art, is the movie period where they had the more naval style uniforms. Remember that?
Yes, and that's when they really started getting into the naval decorum and so forth, the boatswain whistle and the salute and so forth.
I got the impression that period in Federation was kind of a dangerous period, because were they really worried about war with the Klingon Empire at that point?
Yes. They didn't really talk about it too much in the movies, but they go into it more in the novels.
Yes.
Especially leading into Star Trek VI, talking about, there's a great bit in the novelization for Star Trek VI that sets up not only how close they were to going to war with the Klingons, but referencing back to something that you could consider to be a plot hole from the original series, and that's that there was an Organian peace treaty signed. Remember, the Organians kind of stepped in and like the mother coming in to break up the squabbling children.
Was this Day of the Dove or one of those types of episodes, I think?
Yeah, I can't remember which one, but it was, And they, the Organians come in and say, look, we are going to enforce this peace treaty. You will not fight. We're setting up this neutral zone, and, that's all there is to it. And they address that. They're like, we've sent delegates to the Organian homeworld, tried to reach out to them. We can't contact them. They're not responding, and they're not enforcing the peace treaty anymore. They've stepped away, and that's really all it takes. One line, and canon is preserved, right? And that led to a bunch of skirmishes along the borders, Federation outposts being attacked by the Klingons, and then that leads into the events of Star Trek VI.
Well, I had also learned, though, from TNG that there had been further skirmishes between the original movies and the Klingon Empire because of Khitomer disasters. Like other Khitomer conferences where things went horribly wrong. Were Worf's parents killed at one of them? Isn't that what I heard?
Yes, and then you start getting into even wider political implications. Romulans
messing around with that.
Definitely pulling some false flags, trying to instigate war between the Federation.
Play the Federation and the Klingons off each other. Yes,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Makes sense.
That's when writing was good. There you go. But
interesting, Darth Plato. But yeah, let me read from this though. Yeah. Unfortunately, the main one of the main writers of these comics has unfortunately passed away.
Yeah.
Margaret Clark was one of those instrumental in keeping Star Trek fiction alive after the TV series went off the air, and it's been reported that the former Marvel and DC Comics editor passed away at 69 years old.
I didn't realize she was involved with the Star Trek story from Marvel as well. I've seen a couple of those, but I didn't actually collect them.
It's weird when they switch companies with things, because I always figured, I always associated Star Trek with DC and Star Wars with Marvel. I think
that would be
comics
fair.
Were also DC, right? Doctor Who comics, were they also DC?
I thought they were Marvel.
Maybe they were Marvel. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know they had Doctor Who comics for a bit. I had a couple of Tom Baker issues. Let me see. Star Trek fiction has gone through a lot of iterations, but over the last several decades, it's been published by Simon & Schuster, with editor Margaret Clark working hard, directing the line. She was most famously involved in Star Trek The Next Generation relaunch series after the Nemesis film, helping create a vast continuity for Star Trek that lasted beyond the on-screen series. In 2008, Clark became the principal responsible for the entire Star Trek line, though she was let go in restructuring a year later mid layoffs at Simon & Schuster.
Yeah.
She was picked up again later as a freelance editor. See, this is what happens. You get rid of your talent. And I think the comics industry is notorious for this. Yes.
You can read between the lines there, right? They got rid of her, brought her back as a freelancer. In other words, we'll bring you back to do the work, but we don't want to pay for your benefits and, retirement plan or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah, terrible. But prior to her work on Star Trek, Clark worked in comics, first starting at Marvel Comics, where she was a supervising editor for project editors, being able to help deliver one of Marvel's most interesting artistic accomplishments in a book with the famed French artist Mobius. She moved over to DC Comics, where she worked on one of the best Star Trek comic runs in the original series in Trek history, which she started delving into Star Trek as a line. Several Star Trek authors commented on her death over the last few days to pay respects. Michael Okuda, famous for creating the Next Generation technical manual, said, remembering Margaret Clark, executive editor for Pocketbook Star Trek program, Margaret was the guiding force on countless Star Trek books, including several editions of the Star Trek Encyclopedia and Chronology. Margaret Clark was 69. Longtime Star Trek writer Dayton Ward first broke the news via his blog, saying, "To say she was just my editor would sell short her countless contributions, not only on behalf of me and Kevin, but also many others who've added stories to Simon & Schuster's Star Trek publishing program over many years she worked for them. She was a collaborator, a mentor, a sounding board, a boot in the ass when I needed it, a fiercely protective mother hen, and a tremendous friend. I simply can't imagine having gotten this far or accomplishing as much as I have without her." Wow, it's almost like things worked back in the day. And you hear, and not that there haven't been women in other fields, of course, at the same time, but it's always the complaints that women aren't given a voice. This woman had a voice, and she used it, and she did good work. And the industry was at a loss too when they kind of pushed her to the side, it looks like.
Yeah,
but
actually, Darth Plato is pointing out an issue that a lot of people have had with Star Trek Motion Picture, the idea of Admiral Kirk coming in and taking over a ship. That's not something that would happen in the Navy. It shouldn't be something that can happen in Starfleet. And I do feel like that's a big part of, at least one part of, why they changed tones when they went into Star Trek 2, and they were like, let's start pinning down the
that was a soft reboot. Let's be honest here.
It kind of was.
It doesn't decanonize it, but it also doesn't acknowledge it.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's part of that problem too. Decker his name was Decker, right? The new captain of the Enterprise. He was the legitimate captain, and Kirk kind of stepping in like that probably wasn't appropriate.
And this is another one. This is another situation where
I don't care if it was an emergency.
Well, and you would have to argue that the only way to justify that would be a single line of dialogue that states that a command has come in from, like, Starfleet Command, turning the ship over to Kirk on an emergency basis. We apologize, eminent domain kind of thing.
Or it could be, it doesn't make sense. You're right. Remember,
it doesn't really make any sense.
There's a scene in Star Trek Generations. I have issues with that movie, but remember when the new captain of the new Enterprise is there and Kirk is just there, but Kirk knows he can't step over that captain. Now, when the captain asks for advice, he can step in, but he had to basically bite his tongue, even if he didn't like how the captain was handling the situation.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
yeah.
I mean, that's protocol, right? It's his ship. I don't make him look bad in front of his men, period. You just don't.
Oh, Wrath of Khan. Well, in Wrath of Khan, though, Spock gives him the command. Right?
Exactly.
Spock basically says, "I have no ego to bruise. You can take command. It's okay."
Yeah.
But that's basically he's.
I don't know
if that would work in the Navy, but I'm just probably well.
No, you're right. But it was his ship, and he has every right to. And I did feel like, given the nature of the story, I think he was looking at his friend and saying, "Let's give you one last chance to command the Enterprise." I think that's what he was doing.
Oh, right. That's when that thing happened at Kidmer. That was that thing in the. I remember they had that episode where the pass got changed and the Enterprise.
The Enterprise C sacrifices itself to protect the outpost, which actually ends up leading to the peace talks
Because Klingons realize humans can, or Federation people can have honors, so.
But you were right that
yes,
that was the that was part of the conflict that we were talking about that led up to Star Trek VI. So you're absolutely right. And hail Curtis Selby, the tired midnight blogger.
Oh, no, Kirk said he was ordered by Starfleet to do it, which is why he was apologizing to Spock. Okay, well, I get it.
You're right. The whole idea doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yes,
you're right.
Look, there are a lot of problems with the motion picture. Maybe we will talk about that someday.
I would argue, though, at least in that one, he's handling it a little better than he did in the first one. It's like almost like I have to do this all over again. Let me be a little bit more sensitive this time around.
There are a lot of problems with the motion sickness, as I've heard some fans call it. Anyway, moving on to rest in peace, by the way.
Absolutely.
But rest in peace.
Yeah, I did drop the link. Yeah. Okay.
All right, so now we're moving in. Jessica Harder was asking about this. Now this, I'm going to file this under rumor, but I don't know, man. I think there's some credibility to it, but again, it is a rumor, so
I'm going to preface all of this with saying that I think Warner Brothers is in a really bad circumstance. So anything's possible at this point.
Well, there's another YouTube commenter, a man I respect, but I don't know. Anyway, he thinks Warner Brothers is in better shape than it is, but maybe I'm wrong. But Warner Brothers may now be looking to sell the entire Looney Tunes brand. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if this is true. If it is, this is the canary in the coal mine, as far as I'm concerned.
I think you're right.
Earlier this week, it was announced that Warner Brothers Discovery may finally be selling the distribution rights for Coyote vs. Acme to Ketchup Entertainment. The move comes after Warner Brothers decided to shelve the completed movie for a $30 million tax write-off rather than release it to the public. The Coyote vs. Acme deal is not finalized at this time, but the film is eyeing a 2026 theatrical release should it come to fruition. Remember in the old days when you were worried if a movie would do well, but you could still sell it on DVD, sell it to rental stores, sell it to Netflix for distribution? But no, you had to be top dog in the streaming fight.
Thank you so much, Nate. I really a $5 for the two of you. Thank you. So I will have to find a way to get you your.
You can file it back into the funding of your stream.
He always says that. He always does that.
Anyways, back to Looney Tunes, though. This is, in my opinion, as far as I'm concerned, Looney Tunes are the heart and soul of Warner Brothers.
Agreed.
They're a tie-in to their classic movie period when they were from the golden age of Hollywood, and I would be horrified if they were to sell them. I mean, what's next? But what's the latest update about
maybe?
What? DC Comics?
DC
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. What's the latest update about Warner Brothers and Looney Tunes? According to Jeff Snyder's The Insider, Warner Brothers may be looking to rid themselves of the Looney Tunes entirely. Snyder said, "I'm told that part of the reason Warner Brothers decided to sell Coyote vs. Acme to Ketchup rather than take a tax credit a month before tax day, April 15th, is because the studio is trying to sell off the Looney Tunes altogether. There's been no official comment on the matter from Warner Brothers at this time. However, it is worth noting that the original Looney Tunes animated shorts, which ran from 1930 through 1969, were recently taken off Max. Deadline reported that the show is no longer viewed as a priority, as the streamer will prioritize adult and family programming. Other spin-off shows, such as 2020's Looney Tunes cartoons, are still available to watch on the streaming platform at this time. Those are the cartoons no one liked, from what I'd heard.
Right.
In addition to Coyote vs. Acme, Warner Brothers sold The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, to Ketchup Entertainment following some internal restructuring in 2022. The movie was released in the United States in theaters on March 14, 2025. It has received generally positive reviews from critics, but has so far only grossed around $6 million at the worldwide box office. This is why you and I had never heard of this movie. Remember, I was talking about it last week. I'm like, I didn't even know this was coming out. Because they sold the distribution rights to Ketchup Entertainment, who probably didn't have a ton of money to do promotions, except maybe like the week it was being released, right?
Right. CluuStudio brings up a great question. I don't know the answer to it. Spielberg owns Tiny Toons, right? I can't remember if it's Tiny Toons or Animaniacs or both.
They were both Steven Spielberg Presents series, both Tiny Toons and Animaniacs. Tiny Toons would feature the classic Looney Tunes characters on it. They were like the teachers at the Looneyversity.
Right.
And this is like Looney Tunes The Next Generation. That's sort of what the cartoon was. Oddly enough, they made a new Tiny Toons Adventure series on Nickelodeon, but I think that was a straight up reboot, because I'd heard that on that show, Babs and Buster are brother and sister, instead of them just being separate bunnies, which I thought was dumb that they did that. Because what I loved about the original show was, I'm Babs Bunny, he's Buster Bunny, no relation. They would say no relation every time to bring it home to the audience. No, they're not related, which I thought was funny.
That makes it very, very difficult to go and retcon that, because, I could see someone on social media just stringing together all these different video clips of that, Babs, Buster, no relation, no relation, no relation, oh, now you're brother and sister. Okay, whatever.
If Warner Brothers does sell Looney Tunes, who do you think would be the best case scenario for a new home for them, and the worst case? I have my picks. What are yours?
Worst case is Disney.
My opinion, worst case is Netflix. Because I don't like Disney, but Disney at least has... I don't like Disney, but I think it would be worse if it was like a Netflix, or maybe better still, it might make more sense for Amazon, because they have Amazon bought the MGM catalogs. They could just toss the Looney Tunes shorts on.
Honestly, for me, the best case would be one that I don't think would have any interest in it, and that's Sony.
Oh, funny. My best case was Universal. Because I feel Universal is still a studio that respects its back catalog to a degree. Because they're also an old Hollywood studio, so they might take care of these characters. They might even do something with them. Of course.
No, you make a great point. Yeah, that actually makes more sense than the one I said. So yeah,
I mean, Sony could make sense too. Actually, if they were smart, if Sony were to get the Looney Tunes characters, make video games with them.
No kidding. Yeah.
I've never understood Disney. You can tell the short-sightedness. Back in the day, you used to get games with Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck on the Sega Genesis, and there's no reason why Disney couldn't have transitioned these characters from being in these shorts like they used to have in the 50s to being game characters like a Mario or a Sonic. And I never understood why they didn't, take the bull by the horns.
Yeah.
And just go with that. But we'll see. I just don't know. But if this is true, what's left, Warner Brothers? Come on.
Right.
Because that means that DC, I mean, to be fair, part of me wants to see the DC comic studios get shuttered, because there's some horrible people over there.
Well, the talk is that didn't we talk about this last week or the week before?
Yeah.
That if Superman doesn't do well, that's exactly what might happen.
I think I heard a sentiment on that on Midnight's Edge or something that Tom Connors was on. I mean, I don't know, because Midnight's Edge did a whole thing on how Warner Brothers has basically let the Looney Tunes dry on the vine, which I do agree with. I think they have. They've done hardly anything with them, which is why I like the idea behind this movie. I like the idea of pairing Daffy Duck with Porky again, because people forget in some of the older Looney Tunes cartoons, it was those two paired before they started pairing him with Bugs and stuff. So I thought that was
the other thing is the upside to selling off the Looney Tunes is exactly what you just said. Because they've let them dry on the vine, they haven't hurt them. They're just sitting there waiting to be used.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas the DC brand has been so divided and chopped and kind of hurt that it may not bring in the revenue they think it would if they were to sell it.
I could see a Looney Tunes racing game rivaling Mario Kart. Yeah, you know what's funny? They did a this isn't Looney Tunes, but Hanna-Barbera used to have a cartoon called Wacky Races, right?
Yep.
And they actually at one point made a Wacky Races racing game that I heard was actually rather good.
Doesn't surprise me.
So
now, what I
like
think
a kart style game.
Talk about missed opportunities for Looney Tunes that you implied. They've had 2 basketball movies. Why were there no basketball video games related to them?
I have no idea. I heard that last Space Jam was a bit of a dud. I hadn't seen it, but
that may well be, but that doesn't mean you don't market it and make as much money as you can on it.
Or a fighting game, or maybe like a Smash Brothers fighting game. Of course, I think Warner Brothers did their Smash Brothers knockoff called Multiverse, and that did not do well. Looney Tunes phone game, yes, Looney Tunes phone
I
game.
could see a racing game related to Roadrunner and Coyote.
I got a Super Nintendo game where you played as the Roadrunner. We called Roadrunner's Death Valley Rally. Where you played as the Roadrunner. The object of the game was for you to escape. Each level was a different trap by Wile E. Coyote that you were trying to escape or figure a way out.
I think I saw a gameplay of that.
It looked great, but gameplay wise, it wasn't. It didn't play well, but it looked great. Oh. And they even used Looney Tunes music. It looked great. I found the Roadrunner hard to handle. That was the problem with it. But I don't know.
Limey suggests Grand Theft Auto Toontown.
Maybe
that's actually a pretty good idea. Could you see something set in the whole like Roger Rabbit-esque, Toontown?
Or maybe just have Bugs. Remember the one Looney Tunes where Bugs Bunny was a gangster? Remember?
Yeah.
The episode with all the gangsters. I think they were using all the gangsters from the Warner Brothers gangster movies, and they were showing up in a Bugs Bunny cartoon. And then he shows up at some point. He's disguised as a gangster, and one of the guys goes, "Oh no, it's Bugsy," because Bugs Bunny. Get it?
Bugsy. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I
exactly right.
Funny. I don't know. I think they could do a lot with the Looney Tunes. I don't think they're out of style, but maybe I'm just too old. Do the kids even know who these characters are? I don't know. My favorite.
Done well, it wouldn't matter. I think you don't need the nostalgia. I think the kids would still love it.
One of my favorite Looney Tunes cartoons. Remember the Sylvester Tweety cartoon where Sylvester basically is going to like an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting for getting over his bird obsession. I too was like you. Remember, I couldn't resist trying to eat the Tweety birds. Like it was like this, and he had to go. It was like a 12-step program. Remember that? Oh, that was a funny short, actually. They're treating it like it was an addiction or something. But anyway, I don't know. But something about Double Dragon in the chat. That was an interesting movie adaptation. This is Coyote versus Acme.
Which we did kind of
but there's another article.
Touch on a little bit, yeah.
Which is being sold to Ketchup Entertainment. What is Ketchup Entertainment? Have you heard of these people?
I don't know. Sounds like a condiment to me.
Are they the people behind the Popeye the Slayer Man movie that I saw a trailer
for? God! Oh my God!
I didn't have time to add that into the stream because I was like, what is this? What are they doing? They got to stop this.
Well, if we talk about it next week, I got some things to share about that.
I'll see if I can find some stuff on it for next week. Yeah. Okay. More than a year after Warner Brothers shelved Coyote versus Acme for tax incentives, Looney Tunes inspired film is close to finding a new home. Ketchup Entertainment is expected to land distribution rights for Coyote versus Acme, though the sale has not closed. The price tag is reportedly in the $50 million range, according to Deadline, which broke the news. Ketchup Entertainment, an independent distributor, recently spearheaded the theatrical release of The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, after Warner Bros. Discovery decided to shop the film around as well. The Day the Earth Blew Up opened in theaters on March 14th and has grossed $3.9 million at the domestic box office. Coyote vs. Acme, a live-action animation hybrid starring John Cena and Lana Condor, was directed by Dave Green and produced by DC Studios co-chief James Gunn. Warner Brothers shelved the completed film in November 2023 as a $30 million tax write-off, prompting outrage from the creative community. The studio allowed the filmmaking team to shop Coyote vs. Acme to other distributors. Around then, Amazon Prime Video, Apple, and Netflix screened the movie for consideration, but no deal came to fruition. At the time, Coyote vs. Acme was the third casualty of Warner Brothers' post-pandemic cost-cutting measures. Around a year earlier, Warner Brothers shocked the entertainment industry by shelving the $90 million budgeted DC adventure Batgirl and the kid-friendly Scoob Holiday Haunt as tax write-offs. All three films were greenlit under the studio's former boss, Jason Kilar, who departed the company in April 2022. So I guess that was another Scooby-Doo animated movie they had completed?
Yeah, I'd heard something about that. That one didn't make any sense. This one didn't make any sense. But from everything that I heard, the Batgirl one probably makes a lot of sense.
We all figured that was a disaster, but I guess we'll never know. Ketchup Entertainment was founded in 2012 and has released independent films such as Michael Keaton's comedy Goodrich, Ben Affleck's thriller Hypnotic, and Jessica Chastain's drama Memory. I'm wondering if this company Ketchup is buying these things from these studios and then selling them to streamers like Netflix to make a profit.
Why not? That makes perfect. Well, maybe not selling, maybe leasing.
Leasing. Hey, yeah, leasing. That's what I meant.
Yeah. Doing exactly what these studios should be frickin' doing and aren't.
But yeah, I don't understand Warner Brothers right now. The Formula One movie coming out this summer for them looks good, the Brad Pitt racing one, but I just don't know. That was funny, Boomer. Heathcliff had a similar plot. He went to rehab to get over his fish addiction. Oh, yeah, that's funny. Remember Heathcliff?
Yes, I do. I absolutely do.
I was more of a Garfield fan, but I remember Heathcliff growing up. Yeah. Okay. All right. You gonna post the next one?
This is gonna be interesting. Yep.
I got to be careful how we talk about this because I don't want us to get sued.
I know. Yeah, come at us, Ubisoft.
Yeah, well, I'm not. We are not expressing an opinion of this game. I'm sure it's a very nice video game that gamers everywhere want to play. And
well, in that case, maybe I should give the disclaimer. The opinions portrayed by the individuals in the panel do not necessarily reflect the brand or Geeky Geezers as a whole.
Exactly.
Just saying, because I might have some opinions here that you may not necessarily feel is stream appropriate.
Assassin's Creed Shadows, undoubtedly one of the most divisive and controversial video games in recent years, is set to launch in just 3 days, and the entire internet, both those looking forward to the game and those critical of what they've seen so far, is buzzing with anticipation, albeit for different reasons. The game's developer, Ubisoft, whose disastrous 2024 is widely regarded as the worst year in its history, and whose future might depend on the success of the new Assassin's Creed installment, is also gearing up for the release, reportedly enlisting a special team to shield Shadows developers from the imminent wave of criticism by any means necessary, including taking legal action. In an interview with the French media outlet BFM TV, an Ubisoft employee whose identity remained undisclosed revealed that the company has an anti-online harassment plan prepared for Shadows release. Reportedly, the company has a dedicated team on standby, monitoring networks such as Twitter, YouTube, and Reddit. Reddit? Are you kidding me? Reddit? And ready to act quickly in case of a targeted attack, offering psychological and legal support for employees who may be targeted. Apparently, Ubisoft...
Well, maybe you should kind of preemptively start with that psychological help, because I think they all need it to begin with. Real quick, CluuStudio said that his wife's son was pissed when he played it. Clue, if you have your son on your channel and talk about it, I'd love to see that video. I really, really would.
But you got to be careful, though, man, because you may decide to have a layover in France one day, in Paris. You might want to step out of the airport, pick up a fresh baguette, and then you'll be in jail for like 30 years because your son said this game sucked. No, I'm sorry. I'm just saying. This is where we are, man. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Apparently they need to make as much money on this game as possible, because I heard the Japanese government might be coming after them because
they are
governments
pissed.
Don't like. Yes, they
One
don't
of the
like
elements of this game is that you can go to a Shinto shrine and frickin' desecrate it, destroy it, and it's an actual historical location, and it's like, I've seen churches in World War II games and stuff like that, and you did not have the ability to do anything like that. This is just offensive in every way, shape, and form to Japan. And as I pointed out, I was in the chat over on the Metatron's channel.
Yes,
and I pointed out that Yasuke, this main character, this so-called black samurai who we have no reason to believe actually was a samurai, whatever. They're taking certain liberties with this character that are absolutely offensive, to the point that in one portion of the game where he's implied to be having some sort of a dalliance with another character who is portrayed to be non-binary.
I'm sure it's one of the ancestors of the current emperor or something, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it's
as he turns and breaks the fourth wall to look at the camera in a screw you kind of way.
Oh, really? And, that's in the
game?
game?
In fact, it's yes, and I used a snip of it in the thumbnail for this stream, and it's very clearly, like, how did Smash JT put it? To own the chuds, and it's like, all you're doing is you're pissing off the Japanese historians, because, again, as I said, Yasuke was a real person, and you're literally slandering someone who actually existed. I had the same rant about the first officer of the Titanic.
Yeah,
in that James Cameron piece of crap.
Yes, because they had him say something he never said,
and then they had him do something that there is no evidence he ever did. And remember, this is somebody whose descendants still are alive today.
Well, this is like Marie Antoinette. Like, people said, "Oh, she said let them eat cake," and then people said there's actually no historical evidence she ever said that.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. And what really bothers me about this is there is first you have no respect for a man who existed, whom you want to, in quotes, honor as this black samurai. No, you're not. You are slandering him. Okay? Now, I have no reason to believe he has any descendants alive today. It doesn't matter. The man still exists and had his dignity and deserves that respect, right? And you don't care about the culture. You didn't get the culture right in the marketing materials. You allow players to literally desecrate a sacred shrine.
Yep.
You have zero respect for the Japanese people. That's why they're pissed at you. And now you want to defend your game and your people with lawsuits? Okay.
Forget it.
Okay, yeah. Let's see how this goes. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it works for them.
Ubisoft games sucks. You know what's the sad thing? Back in the 6th generation of consoles, I thought Ubisoft was a top-tier developer. They made my favorite game of that generation, which was Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time.
I heard good things about that, yeah.
To see them fall this far is ridiculous. Yeah. And I love how they're complaining about harassment when supposedly they had some of the worst, like, female harassment in all the gaming industry, from what I had heard. The fact that even the CEO had come out and apologized about it. Yep. Yeah, that was right. I remember this goes back with Cleopatra. Yeah, the Egyptian government was angry at that because countries care about their history and don't like when people mess around with their history and start making claims. And it's incidents like this
that make it very clear that their whole DEI, their inclusion, right, their diversity, you don't care about those things. Clearly, when you do it this way and you literally slander the people you're supposed to be representing, that's not your motivation. Let's just say it's not your motivation.
CluuStudio says, I'm a Konami fan myself. Capcom is number 2. I'll say this. Konami has improved from what they were. They've done some really excellent Castlevania collections of the old games recently, which were very high quality. And I hear they just announced a new Silent Hill game that might be interesting. So I think they might be on the mend. Where for a while they were kind of reviled. So it's weird the times we live in,
Well, you know what I know about Konami? They had that code thing.
Yeah, I think they're yes, I think their famous game from the heyday of arcades was, I think their big original hit was Frogger. Did you know that? I think that was a Konami title.
I did not.
I think that was their big. I think that's their old school arcade game. But yeah, they later went on to make Contra and Metal Gear, and there's a big push to try and bring DEI to Japan. Shogun took a shot too recently. I don't know. I haven't seen I haven't seen Shogun yet. I love Castlevania 4 for the SNES. Yeah, it's good.
I'd love to hear more about that, Darth Plato. It was my impression that Shogun actually did an okay job in that regard and didn't step all over stuff too much.
I haven't seen it.
I may have been, I haven't seen it myself either, so I can't even evaluate. Most of the people in my martini gallery know how I am with historical pieces, and I'll pick them apart. There's no doubt about that.
I had Frogger on the Atari 7800. Yeah, the 7800 was Atari's 8-bit console.
And of course, this has got to be a joke. Darth Plato saying, breaking news, there's a game coming out with a white Shaka Zulu.
This is what I don't understand. Why not do a game based in the Zulu period, Assassin's Creed? That would have been an interesting title, and you could have had a black protagonist there.
Oh, absolutely.
Instead of just doing, I mean, I don't understand. The idea is when you make games in these different cultures and countries, you're supposed to have protagonists. Now, when they did Assassin's Creed that took place in colonial America, he was I forgot what Indian tribe he was from, but that's still American.
Yeah,
they were here before the colonists were. That makes sense. This didn't make any sense, but Assassin's Creed was finally taken down by DEI. I remember that I think their peak was when I haven't played the one since Black Flag. I remember Black Flag was very popular. That was the pirate game, the pirate era Assassin's Creed they did, which some don't understand why they just didn't make that into its own series. But this game is straight boring. What, Black Flag?
The other thing you brought it up too was, if you so desperately want to do a black protagonist for Assassin's Creed, set it in
Africa.
The Zulu tribe or any number of maybe even a black character during the Civil War or something. I mean, if you want to get really super edgy with it,
or if you want to go to Northern Africa, the great city of Timbuktu, when during its heyday.
But what you did was you created an Assassin's Creed set in Japan with no Japanese protagonist.
Yeah.
That is probably the biggest insult to Japan. That is the opposite of representation. This is your objective. This is your narrative. It has nothing to do with honoring any kind of diversity.
Yeah. So I don't know where this is going to go. That's why I'm telling people they'll be looking at you online. Of course, we'll see if any of this will hold weight, even to get a court date.
My hope is that
in the United States, you can express opinions that you don't like a video game. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, my hope is that what happens with Ubisoft is basically on par with what we see happening over at Hasbro and the Dungeons and Dragons folk.
Right.
That's the pivot point there, Boomer.
Oh, I see. Sorry. I'm still thinking about those Star Trek comics. Okay, Wizards of the Coast lays off 30 members of their Project
Sigil, D&D's a virtual tabletop team. So I started to get into this a little bit on Friday. And it's really what my having mentioned this to Michael French in his Patreon is what kind of got his attention wanting to talk about this. So ever since COVID, the idea of a virtual tabletop has been kicked into high gear. And Hasbro has gone out of their way to try and develop one.
Okay.
And there's a lot of moving parts, and I'm gonna admit up front, I have a certain bias in this. I am going to not be very charitable about expressing my bias. I feel that their end goal with this was, if you want to play Dungeons and Dragons and you want to buy the books and you want to, run a tabletop game, you're going to do it through our software. And you will not buy anything. You will not own anything. You will lease it from us. You will have a subscription service. Then you can access the rule books. Then you can generate characters on our platform. You can play using our virtual tabletops with miniatures you buy within the game. And the modules that you buy will be actually a lease that you can only access on our platform. And if at any time you stop using our service, well, then, you lose your characters, you lose your character history, your campaign history, all of your maps, and you have no access to any of the books. That was, I believe, what their plan was. As a result, they put... Oh, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
No, greed. I'm just saying it was greed.
Oh, I thought you said read. You wanted to read the article.
No, greed. I was saying greed. Sorry.
Yeah, they and in so doing, they were throwing millions of dollars into the development of this. And I honestly think they over-engineered it, because I've seen the visuals of this, and it looks really good, like a very immersive 3D environment that you could tabletop play in, but they shot themselves in the foot. It was like Russia trying to keep up with the United States with the Star Wars program. It bankrupted them. And it seems like that's exactly what happened to this Project Sigil. And I think the article's going to get into this. They eventually gave up. They said, we're not going to get this done. So they took everything that they had done with it and just dumped it into their D&D Beyond as a free upgrade. Terrible. And it's like, and then laid off, all of these people. Honestly, this is just one small part of the problems that Hasbro is having. That the company, I don't know how they're still going to be around next year. And I'm not just talking Wizards of the Coast. I'm talking Hasbro. I'm talking the whole line of it.
Action figures and all that.
They'll send the Pinkertons out and say, you have to buy our books. You're playing some other third-party D&D. They'll come in and smash up your table and crush all your dice and go, you have to buy from Hasbro.
Yeah, if you're using a monster manual from the 1970s, you're going to jail. I mean, none of this makes any sense. More bad signs are coming from Wizards of the Coast, as we've learned. Right. Dungeons & Dragons has cut its Project Sigil virtual tabletop program, laying off 30 developers. Virtual tabletop gaming has been growing for some time. First popularized by the website app Roll20, Wizards of the Coast decided to get in on it by making their own VTT system where they could control it and sell digital content. Many critics of the 2024 edition of Dungeons & Dragons say the current rule set was created specifically with VTT ports in mind. Oh no, they changed the actual manual based on this.
Yeah.
Okay, and the accounts for a lot of the stripping away of the classic D&D feel to make it more algorithm friendly. Recent sales data based on the USA Today charts also show this new edition is failing to perform among D&D players. This comes after a year of controversy where Wizards of the Coast intentionally push a diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda on gamers, causing a number of players to tune out from the hobby entirely. Well, they don't have to tune out from the hobby. They can have their own games. There are plenty of they can't copyright the game system. You can buy modules made by third parties that aren't official D&D, but you could just buy the old stuff or use your imagination to make up scenarios.
That's actually a great place for me to bring up this comment from Curtis Selby, who says, y'all know how the game Pathfinder came about, don't you? I freaking absolutely do. So after years of playing Dungeons and Dragons, from the basic, expert, companion, what do they call that? The I forget what the name of that series was, but then the advanced Dungeons and Dragons, the second edition rules, the third edition rules, 3.5 edition rules, bought all of them, and a whole bunch of the campaign settings that went with all of them. When D&D said, okay, now we are going to put out edition 4, my whole gaming party, which again, this was late 90s, early aughts. Mm-hmm. I'm out of college. I'm married. I'm doing monthly games with my old college buddies, one of whom is now my attorney, Mm-hmm. And we're all like, screw it. We're done. We've got enough books. We don't need anything they're putting out anymore. We're done. And we were in the middle of a what was called an adventure path. It was a whole campaign that takes you from level 1 to level 20. And we were in the middle of that. I'm like, we can't change in the middle of this. Only come to find out that the company that was doing that adventure path, which was the company that was publishing their Dungeon magazine and their Dragon magazine, were unceremoniously disfellowshipped from D&D. And they said, okay, screw you. We're going to go start our own company. And that's where Pathfinder came about. And I looked at everyone and I'm like, well, let's see what this Pathfinder's all about, because I've enjoyed all of their adventure paths. Yes. And then sure enough, they put out their book, which was basically Dungeons & Dragons 3. I'm going to call it Dungeons & Dragons 3.6. It took what was good about 3.5, kept it all, and then just tweaked the stuff that was a little dumb. Like skills like you have search and spot and I don't remember what the other ones were. They took all of those and they said, that's just a perception roll. We'll make that perception, and all of these, instead of having your skills spread out over multiple, they combine things that kind of went together. If you want to listen at the door, if you want to look for traps, if you want to see if you can spot somebody who's sneaking up on you, whatever it is, it's a perception check. And it's like, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we've gone with Pathfinder ever since. And they've put out new adventure paths since then. They now, instead of doing them as serialized monthly magazines, they put it out in one big book, and that does make it a lot easier on the Dungeon Master. So
neat.
Yeah.
So and there are lots of people doing that sort of thing these days, and exactly. You don't have to go with Wizards of the Coast right now. You can give them a rest for a while.
And here is the lovely Maria with Tea and Telly. Thank you so much for stopping in, my dear. She's cooking, but she's watching the stream as well.
Maybe some fun. You could also find some PDFs of some old Dragon magazines, maybe, right?
Well, see, that's the other thing that bothers Wizards of the Coast, but it is a fact of life. Anything that you can put out as a book can be turned into a PDF and shared on the internet.
So Not that we're saying anybody do that.
No. But it's the only way that you can obtain stuff that's out of print.
It is.
And so that's why I have my entire library in PDF.
There you go.
For exactly that reason. And there's you don't even have to go to the high seas. There are just web pages that accumulate this stuff. The same thing is true for all the historical Star Wars role-playing games and stuff like that. And I'm sure there's others too. Yes.
Don't give up on your hobby. Give up on Wizards of the Coast, at least until they get their act together.
Real quick, I want to acknowledge Watcher X. Thank you so much for being here. Savage Tides. Yes. That was the campaign setting that I was doing at the time.
Oh.
And I actually had started doing a YouTube series based on our adventure. I've got some of the early videos up, but because I work a day job, I just can't get the content out that I want to. I would really love to tell that story, and I think a lot of people would enjoy it. But yes, The Savage Tide was a great one. It was a friggin' epic. We got into that role playing like you would not believe. There is a dynamic in that game where one of the main NPCs, she's a female noble who needs the adventurer's help to save her family estate, really from her brother who's been embezzling from her. And it leads into this whole... It goes back to, if you remember, the Isle of Dread. Those of you that remember the original first edition of D&D. It's kind of like Skull Island, Oh, Maria, thank you so much.
Oh.
He says... just because you guys rock, sending you tons of love. Thank you so much, Maria.
Maria.
So it's like the D&D version of Skull Island. They got dinosaurs and giant monkeys and all kinds of stuff, and Mesoamerican inspired natives.
Oh, that's cool.
And all this kind of stuff, and
it's like someone was using their imagination. When they
absolutely right, and a bit of nostalgia, drawing from old stuff in D&D and whatnot. And so one of the elements of the story is that the players could build a relationship with the female NPC, and by that I mean romance.
There you go.
we all looked at each other because we're like 4 or 5 guys playing this game, and we're like, how the hell is this going to work? And I said, I've got a plan. So at the end of every adventure day, I would then spend the next week typing it up as if it was a story journal. And I would embellish with the elements of the romance between my character and the female NPC lead. And then I would tell the dungeon master, okay, now you read it and you roll the dice and tell me, if she, there was literally a mechanic for whether she's more favorable to you or less favorable to you, by the end of the adventure and so forth. And it just led to this really epic story. And there's actually a whole behind the game story to be told there too, that I think people would enjoy if I had the time to tell that story.
Okay. Well, that sounds, that sounds.
I guess all that I just went into saying is, there's people that can make good games. Wizard of the Coast is not one of them, and they're suffering because of it.
So now it appears as if D&D is giving up on the virtual tabletop edition, first reported by YouTuber Diversity and Dragons. The company is apparently shutting down their project Sigil VTT and laying off a large portion of its employees. Diversity and Dragons says in the video that they're leaving a skeleton crew still in the department to completely wind it down, but that VTT is, for all intents and purposes, canceled. His news was confirmed today as senior writer, game designer, and team lead Andy Collins posted today. Approximately 30 talented developers, 90% of the team were laid off from the Sigil virtual tabletop team at Wizards of the Coast, including yours truly. He continued, I'm disappointed that we didn't get to continue working toward the full experience that we imagined, but happy for the opportunity to work on the intriguing challenge with so many smart and dedicated folks. So any last thoughts on this? I mean, this is not good.
No, but it's how did Thanos put it? It's inevitable. Yeah. You could totally see this coming, right?
Yeah. So I don't know. Is there a future for D&D right now? I mean, it doesn't matter. It's a game. You can just play it on your own. You don't need Wizards of the Coast approval or products.
What it really is that,
I mean, they lost Critical Role.
Yeah, they did, and they're now out there creating their own role-playing game, and people are funding it through crowdfund.
Right.
The fact is we don't need them anymore, and the only way that they're going to sell their product is to make people want it. If there is good, and they don't have the creativity to put out good stuff anymore. All they have is their back catalog of campaign worlds and characters and whatnot that people loved, that if they did something new with, people would buy. But unfortunately, that's the only thing they have that's worth anything, but they refuse to put that out because it's all problematic. I was just watching a video about the Dark Sun campaign setting, and that will never see the light of day ever again because it dealt with cannibalism and slavery and very problematic way that the elves of that world mate. Very, very brutal, very barbaric, kind of the way, barbarians used to be. Just saying, actually in some parts of the world still are. Just saying. But no, we gotta sanitize everything, and we can't have such a dark campaign setting. We need to be able to send your NPCs to prom and go through dungeons that are wheelchair accessible. That's what we need to be able to do. And yeah, so as long as they're thinking that way, that's why D&D is dying, and that's why Wizard of the Coast is going to die.
Aren't dungeons supposed to
actually?
Not be
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I know what gore is, but I would describe it as it's a lot like Dungeons and Dragons version of what's that barbarian? Conan the Barbarian type of thing.
Well, it's almost
Yeah.
sounded like Mad Max to me, actually. But
Yeah, like there is a Mad Max element to it too. Yeah, because it takes
Gore was a
place in a
fantasy
world.
book series.
Okay, yeah. It takes place in a world that's very much like Mad Max in that it is a post-apocalyptic thing. It was a fantasy setting like any other D&D world until some horrible magic war happened that destroyed most of the life on the planet. And now, even though magic still exists, there's so little life on the planet that in order to cast a spell, you actually kill. You take the life force from plants and animals and creatures nearby.
That's interesting. That reminds me of one of the Final Fantasy games where there had been a horrible war of the Magi where things got messed up, but the world that replaced it was where they were focusing more on technology than magic. It was more like steampunk after that had happened, which was interesting. But okay.
Wait a minute, is this true? He says, Troy, there's a goblin and an iron lung. Is that true? Do they not have access to clerics in D&D anymore?
I don't know.
I don't think D&D Beyond ever does.
John Norman Gore book series, very graphic, especially concerning women. I've heard of the book series, yeah. I've not read it myself, though. All right, so moving along, because it's getting late, and we have many stories to breeze through. Oh,
yep,
for the
absolutely.
love of Pete.
Whoops, I know. This is the worst because, again, we're talking about reboots, but in this case, it's not a sequel, it's a reimagining.
Yeah, I thought, didn't they just do a Power Rangers movie in recent years, and now they're doing another one? Or is this a series for Disney Plus?
I think this is going to be a series, and the previous movie, I think, was in canon with the other stuff. I don't know for sure, but this is going to be, I think, a whole new thing.
You know what? I bet the previous movie was a 20th Century Fox production, but now that Disney owns 20th Century Fox, okay, that's probably what happened.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks like the Power Rangers are morphing back into Disney's hands, at least for now, according to an exclusive report from the Wrap. Disney Plus and 20th Century Fox Television are in talks to develop a brand new live-action Power Rangers series with Percy Jackson and the Olympian showrunners Jonathan E. Steinberg and Dan Schultz attached as writers, producers, and showrunners. Hasbro, who currently owns the Power Rangers IP, will also be producing the series. Early reports suggest this will be a full reinvention of the franchise aimed at bringing in a new generation of viewers while still appealing to longtime fans of the colorful superhero squad. The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers debuted in 1993, borrowing heavily from the Japanese series Super Sentai, even incorporating original footage. I remember when that premiered at the time. You know what my thoughts were?
Huh.
Why are we getting this and not new episodes of Batman the Animated Series?
Well,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
wait a minute. I'm sorry, I didn't say that out loud. I know there are many Power Rangers fans. It's fine. Over the decades, the franchise has seen numerous iterations with varying levels of success. Most recently, Netflix produced the first ever entirely US-based Power Rangers series called The Power Rangers Cosmic Fury. Of course, this is not Disney's first rodeo with the Rangers. Back in 2001, Disney acquired Power Rangers as part of its $5.3 billion purchase of Fox Family Worldwide, which includes Saban Entertainment. Under Disney's control, the franchise produced multiple seasons between 2003 and 2009, including Power Rangers Ninja Storm, Power Rangers Dino Thunder, Power Rangers SPD, Power Rangers Mystic Force, Power Rangers Operation Overdrive, Power Rangers Jungle Fury, Power Rangers RPM. Wow, that's a lot of Power Rangers series. However, Disney infamously struggled to maintain the brand's popularity, leading to what many fans consider mismanagement of the IP. Eventually, Disney sold Power Rangers back to Haim Saban in 2010 for a mere $43 billion, a fraction of what they originally paid. Fast forward to 2018 when Hasbro acquired the franchise from Saban for $522 million. Haim Saban is a genius, aiming to unlock its full multimedia potential. I think Hasbro overpaid.
And the toys they put out were just horrible. They were just horrible.
Well, they didn't have the money to spend on quality toys after paying $522 million. Troy, come on.
Darth Plato says, "Thank you very much for the contribution, Darth Plato. Reimagine is code for DEI, which is a Marxism scam that replaces class struggle with race gender struggle." Yes, I would. Part of me wanted to push back on this and disagree with you, except you're right. Reimagine means take the thing that we have and make it not the thing that we have.
Yeah, I hate
earlier
that
we were talking about reboots, which is not the same thing. A reboot can just simply be a sequel after many, many years, and you still maintain the canon that you were looking at before. This is now saying that thing you loved, you're bad for liking that. So now the Pink Power Ranger is going to be a man who is now transgendered. Is what it's probably going to be.
Well, we don't know. Maybe it'll be.
But I do agree with what CluuStudio says. I don't want to see it if Amy Jo Johnson isn't the Pink Ranger. Let me tell you something. Amy Jo Johnson is still a very beautiful woman. It's like, oh my goodness, how is that even possible? My gosh.
Yeah, she was the original Power Rangers, yes, and she was on Felicity for a few seasons. I remember that.
She also did. She was in a a Power Rangers fan film with the Green Ranger, I think.
Oh, really?
Can't really remember. Yeah, it was really pretty good. It was like a little bit darker, edgier type of thing, but
okay.
Yeah, reimagine is code for reprogram. That's kind of true. They are trying to reprogram you. Again, convince you that you're bad for liking the earlier thing. See how problematic all the elements were that you liked. Now get a worldview that agrees with us.
So we have this to look forward to. Anyway, we got to speed through these because we got a few more to get through.
Yeah.
All right,
but,
sorry.
We're not done.
Power Rangers fans.
We're not done giving some grief to Disney. Disney had their earnings call this week, and check out Valiant Renegade for some great commentary about it. They were, as they always are, live during the earnings call, talking about it as it was happening, and all I could do is sit here and pinch my nose and go, I can't believe this. They're really doubling down on all the things that are destroying their company.
So Bob Iger calls Avatar Fire and Ash absolutely breathtaking based on early cut, unveils new footage for Lilo and Stitch Alien Earth. In a splashy 20-minute segment at Disney's annual shareholder meeting, CEO Bob Iger touted a handful of high-priority film and TV projects as the company looks to maintain its recent studio momentum. Which I'm sure slowed down a bit this weekend, but we'll talk about that next time. Avatar, Fire and Ash, Lilo and Stitch, and Alien Earth were three titles given the spotlight, with new footage of the latter two introduced. A replay of the meeting was posted Thursday afternoon on Disney's Investor Relations website, with Lilo seen at the 7-minute mark and an alien on the cutting room floor. Iger said he has seen an early cut of the upcoming third installment of director James Cameron's billion-dollar Avatar franchise. I can tell you that it is absolutely breathtaking, he said. No new images or footage was revealed for the 3-hour plus Cameron epic, which will bow December 19th. A special extended look at Lilo and Stitch was shown during the live streamed meeting. It was a roughly 80-second sequence, including scenes not featured in the film's recently released trailer. Similarly, while FX's Alien Earth, derived from the long-running sci-fi thriller franchise, has recently been showcased in a teaser, Iger introduced a special sneak peek of it. The suspenseful clip shows a member of the space station's crew typing on a computer. "Let me in," his colleague yells to him from the other side of a sealed door. As he keeps his back turned, an alien attacks her with thrashing noises and screams audible even through the thick glass. "Crew status?" The computer screen asks. "Crew dead?" Comes the chilling reply. After the ominous footage, Iger consoled 3 small BDX droids designed by the company and due to be seen in the 2026 film, The Mandalorian and Grogu, who were shuddering and beeping agitatedly. "Sorry guys, scares me too," the CEO quipped. Iger also revealed a sequel to Pixar's Coco is in the works, slated for release in 2029, like Inside Out and Moana, 2 animated titles from 2010s that became big draws on Disney+. 2017's Coco has been a steady performer in streaming. The film and TV operations at Disney, after a bumpy stretch, rebounded strongly in 2024, and Iger said these titles are foundational to all we do across other parts of the media giant.
Yeah.
So the performance of mega grossing titles like Inside Out 2 and Moana 2 shored up a key part of Disney's lucrative theatrical business, while Deadpool and Wolverine got Marvel back on the good foot. Are you implying it was back? They were on a bad foot before that? I'm just asking.
But he's going to say it's not his fault. That was his predecessor's fault.
Okay. Okay. So anyway, he also brings up Shogun and the Bear for the award-winning TV shows. I saw no mention of Tron Ares in this at all.
Yeah. And interestingly, with mention of Avatar Fire and Ash, again, that's not something that Disney is actually doing. All they're doing is kind of licensing it from, what's his name? Who's that? Is it James Cameron that does that? It's his studio.
Yes.
It's his studio that's making it. Yeah, it's his studio that's making it, not Disney. Disney's just licensing it. So again,
but they
claiming victory for something they don't have direct control over again.
Well, yeah, I guess.
And you know what they didn't talk at all about?
What?
Snow White. Absolutely not a talk about Snow White, but boy, they jumped right into Lilo and Stitch. In fact, I'm going to share my screen real quick. This is the image that they are now using to promote Lilo and Stitch. Not just another bad apple. Wow. Tell me that you're crapping all over this project you know is a complete failure in favor of please like this other thing that we're working on now and forget about. We know how badly we did.
Yeah.
Now, there's a whole series of these parodies promoting Lilo and Stitch this way, as though, taking a pot shot at their other things. But they're much more kind-spirited, whereas this one is very clearly derogatory towards Snow White because they know they effed up. So,
all right, I gotta head to bed. Good night, Matanui.
Oops, sorry. Let me get rid of this.
That was you.
No, that was me. My apologies. I'll get rid of that.
Anyway, Iger did not.
Oh, sorry about that. There we go.
Apparently, Iger did not take live questioning this time around.
No, he did not.
So future.
He didn't last time, arguably, but it was very clear now that the questions he was taking were not only pre-recorded, but we're not even sure that they were not artificially generated. We don't know that they even came from real people anymore.
Are people excited for the live-action Lilo and Stitch? Is there buzz around?
There is some good buzz about it. Okay. I've actually even seen the early promo for it, and I do have to say it looks pretty good.
All right, it might be good. I could tell you, I don't know about this Alien series. I got a bad feeling about the Alien series, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And then what else is there? Then there's Avatar, which I don't care about at this point. No, I didn't even see the last one. So anyway, all right, moving on. The Smurf movie, as I like to call it. Oh yeah, this is an interesting article. We'll go over this real quick.
Yeah, see this one. I think we're entering an era of people getting what they got coming to them. Is what I'm going to say. People that got away with bad behavior, illegal behavior, they're starting to get their asses bit.
They don't have the money anymore. They can't keep burning through money. That's what I'm noticing right now. Carl Rinsk indicted on charges of defrauding $11 million from Netflix. Director Carl Eric Rintz has been indicted on charges of fraud and money laundering for allegedly taking $11 million of Netflix and spending cars, antique furniture, and mattresses.
You're roboting really bad there, Boomer.
I am?
Yeah.
Do I sound better now?
Yeah.
Not for me.
That's weird.
Okay, you sound okay now. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, Rince demanded funds in order to finish White Horse, a science fiction TV series that was never completed, according to the indictment. Instead, he allegedly used money to make extremely risky investments to pay for stays at the Four Seasons and other lavish purchases and hire lawyers to sue Netflix. Rinsk, 47, was arrested on Tuesday in West Hollywood, according to a statement from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. Netflix declined to comment. The allegations first reported in the New York Times story in November 2023. They are also spelled out in the lengthy arbitration, which was made public last August. The arbiter ordered Rinsk to prepay $11.8 million, and a Los Angeles Superior Court upheld the award in November. So this means that he probably spent a bunch of money on other things and not on the show. So yeah, he is in trouble. Netflix agreed to invest $44 million to acquire the series and produce the first season. A schedule was drawn up that called for several months of filming in Kenya, Mexico, Romania, Berlin, Hungary, and Uruguay in 2019. Rinsk began shooting in Brazil and quickly went over budget, according to the court records. Though he had promised to deliver another 7 episodes, according to the arbiter's ruling, he informed Netflix that he would only be able to complete a single episode with the money Netflix had provided. After production briefly shut down in Hungary, Netflix agreed to advance additional money. Production halted in December 2019 with much work to be done. Rinsk then set about expanding the script and demanded an additional $11 million to complete the first season, according to the ruling. Hoping to salvage the project, Netflix agreed to pay the money in March 2020, the ruling states. So this guy just kept asking for money, and there was nothing coming out of it, it looks like.
Yep.
Rinsk spent a large portion of the meeting sharing various theories he had about developing about COVID, the universe, interconnectivity, genders, God, higher callings, and reproduction of the ruling states. He did not focus on quote-unquote conquest. I guess that's the name of the show. Unsettled, Netflix executives concluded he did not intend to finish the show. The lead actor had also dropped out, citing instability of the production. That fall, Netflix decided to write off the cost of the series. According to the indictment, Rinsk had quickly transferred most of the $11 million to his brokerage account, where he promptly lost about half of it by speculating on investments such as call options on a biopharmaceutical company and put options on S&P 500 ETF. At the time, he was still reassuring Netflix that the show was awesome and moving forward really well. The indictment says he's going to jail.
Yeah.
This is fraud, right?
Almost certainly, yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I'm just wondering now, is there someone that can go after George R.R. Martin for the Winds of Winter? You know, doesn't he owe somebody something to get that done?
I would figure the publishing company. I have no idea what's going on there. And at some day, the chickens are going to come home to roost on that. Either he's got to put the book out, or he's got to pass it on to somebody else, or pass away. So someone can take it.
I was going to say, he's probably going to pass away, and then somebody is going to go ahead and publish it. You know, their version of whatever the next book would be.
Deleted Scene says, after Romulus, I'm done with the Alien series. The Alien series has been in trouble for a long time. It started with 3, and I keep wanting it to get better, and it doesn't. Anyway. Here we go. We got AI news. Look at this.
Oh, yeah. It's actually more than just AI news. This is, there's a little bit of Schadenfreude here, in my opinion.
Oh, I'm on page 14. I thought I was still on page 6. That's why I was freaking out. Okay, the notes. Anyway, let's move on to, AI news. The AI, why does Mark Ruffalo's name keep showing up on everything?
Because he's like a bad penny.
Seriously, he's not the star that Hollywood thinks he is.
No.
He did get his start on a play that I really liked. That's how he got his acting start. But I don't know. It's more than 400 Hollywood names urged Trump to not let AI companies exploit copyrighted works. More than 400 Hollywood creative leaders signed an open letter to the Trump White House's Office of Science and Technology Policy, urging the administration to not roll back copyright protection at the behest of AI companies. The filmmakers, writers, actors, musicians, and others, which included Ben Stiller, Mark Ruffalo, Cynthia Erivo, Kate Blanchett, Cord Jefferson, Paul McCartney, Ron Howard, and Taika Waititi, were submitting comments for the Trump administration.
Well, some of the biggest TDSers are now coming to Trump going, please, Orange Man, please help us.
U.S. AI Action Plan. Yes, it seems like these are names of people that just they've not been his friend. I'll say that. The letter specifically was penned in response to recent submissions to the Office of Science and Technology Policy from OpenAI and Google, which asserted that U.S. copyright law allows or should allow AI companies to train their system on copyrighted works without obtaining permission from or compensation rights holders. We firmly believe that America's global AI leadership must not come at the expense of our essential creative industries, the letter says in part. The letter claims that AI companies are asking to undermine this economic and cultural strength by weakening copyright protections for the films, television series, artworks, writing, music, voices used to train AI models at the core of a multi-billion-dollar corporate valuations. The letter signatories include, I already mentioned a few of them, but we also had Aubrey Plaza, Paul Simon, Olivia Wilde, Judd Apatow. Judd Apatow really hates Trump. Chris Rock. The letter says Google and OpenAI are arguing for the special government exemption so they can freely exploit America's creative and knowledge industries despite their substantial revenues and available funds. There is no reason to weaken or eliminate the copyright protections that have helped America flourish. I'm still not exactly sure what it is they're afraid the AI is going to do. Are they afraid that they're going to listen to all the Beatles songs and they're able to come up with Beatles songs on their own and use the likenesses of the voices? Is that's what it is? It's.
I mean, one
what's
could
the
argue
worry
it's
here?
entirely
That's
possible, and I think the other thing that seems to be implied is, and this is where the copyright element comes into it. Look, I can't go out there and take, for example, the John Williams Superman theme and use it as incidental music in my YouTube video.
Yes.
When I'm doing a video talking about Superman. If I do, they'll hit me with a copyright claim. And I mean, whatever you think about copyright law, that's what the law is. So rightly so if they do that. But what I could do is I could go to Suno or some other AI. I don't like calling it AI, generative,
Machine learning.
Yes. And say, I need a new piece of music in the style of the Superman anthem from the Superman movie, for blah 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 blah, and it'll spit out something that's very similar. Actually, I don't even have to go that far. I can actually go to the YouTube studio. There's actual artists, not AI, but artists who have created non-copyrighted material for us to use in our videos. You'll oftentimes hear, if you hear a YouTube channel use a piece of music and then you hear that same piece of music on another YouTube channel, that's where it came from. And it's good music. It conveys the idea, the feeling of what you're going for. But yeah, the big artists are afraid that this is going to infringe on those copyrights.
Okay.
But
a human being, let's say a human being is a big fan of the composer Jerry Goldsmith and then wants to write a music in the style of Jerry Goldsmith, like James Horner did for Battle Beyond the Stars. He basically said, no, I basically just was being heavily influenced by Jerry Goldsmith. It's not illegal for him to go and listen to. Is it? Maybe he would have to pay for the music to listen to it. Is that what it is? That they have to pay the?
No, they're not even saying that. They're saying that you're not allowed to do something in the style of, which is bullshit, because you can't copyright a style, and that's where this gets, in my opinion, interesting. This is where I start geeking out on this kind of stuff. On this particular thing, I'm pretty dispassionate, and I'll get back to you guys that. Because I don't disagree with you guys about telling them to go kick rocks after you've been beaten up on the administration, but just from a purely legal standpoint, number one, it's up to them to demonstrate what law is being broken here. I don't see anything being broken in terms of copyright law here. If you want to petition your legislatures, not the executive branch, but your congressmen and representatives to pass laws to do the things that you want to do, feel free to do that. I think they're barking up the wrong tree going to to the executive branch and saying, enforce this law or don't enforce this law. If you don't like a law, go to the legislator and get it changed.
Yes.
Because the executive branch is supposed to enforce the laws that exist. And if there's a law you don't think he's enforcing, tell us what it is, because I don't see that happening here. On the other hand, if you feel that your rights are being infringed on because of either a lack of law or the spirit of a law not being upheld, well, that's what the court system is for. See, we have 3 branches of government. It's like a 3-ring circus, and they all do different things, and you have to understand what the purpose of that those are. And right tool for the right job. Quit trying to drive a hammer with a screwdriver. Excuse me, drive a nail with a screwdriver. This is a very interesting. Your analogy is one I would love to hear in court, Boomer. This idea of if I go and I am inspired by John Williams and I create a brand new piece of music, very much inspired by John Williams.
Is that your right as a human being to be able to do that?
Have I broken any copyright laws? Is that not what creativity is, being inspired by things? Because honestly, I know that there's people that are going to freak out when I say this, but guess what? John Williams has come very close to copyright laws in how he was inspired by previous pieces of work. Just saying.
2A, make a theme song derived from the Love Boat for Troy's YouTube channel. That'd be funny.
God, I actually love to hear that. I would love that.
I'm not a big fan of AI in general and people writing books with AI and all this other nonsense. But at the same time, I don't know what laws are essentially being broken here. That's my issue.
Well, and I said the same thing when this whole argument first started. It's really all the people that are getting so bent out of shape about books being created by AI, movies, songs, and whatnot. If all you do is generate it and put it out there, people are going to know, and it's going to suck. It's going to be average at best. And if in some cases the AI is putting out better work than what the Hollywood studios are putting out, that's not saying anything about how good the AI is. It's saying how mediocre the people they're employing is. That's really where the big problem is. And honestly, you're using it wrong if that's what you're doing. That's like condemning Photoshop for the artwork that's coming out. No, artists are using their own skills, and Photoshop is just a tool that they're using, just like the paints and canvases, right? And these AI generation things, they're generating, they could generate a whole book and it's going to be shit. But if you look at it, you go, well, actually, this makes a pretty good outline. There's a core of a good idea here, and then you take it and rework it, and then maybe you take a paragraph of that, put it back into the AI and say, redo this with these parameters and stuff. You're using a tool to refine your own craft.
I will say this, though, and this may be an odd thing to say, but don't they have... Is there enough stuff available in the public domain that they could just use that if this is going to cause this much of a problem? I mean, many of the great works of literature are in the public domain, great paintings, right?
Damn,
do they even need to use Hollywood's, especially a lot of the modern stuff?
At this point, I would love to see them feed the entire the collective works of Shakespeare into an AI and see if it can create a new Love's Labour Regained or something like that.
I mean, every year stuff comes out in the public domain, right? So
yes.
I don't know if this could be a solution. I mean, again, I don't know enough about what they're doing behind the scenes with AI, but if this is what the issue is, couldn't they just feed it stuff that already is in the public domain? And this would avoid this fight they're having, which I don't know that even Hollywood necessarily even has a legal claim here, but if they did, couldn't they just use stuff that was in the public domain to train the AI with? That's what I
Darth Plato is 100% right. Nietzsche saw mediocrity as a mask, a form of happiness for the mediocre, and a sign of a lack of striving for greatness. Yeah, we call that laziness. Just saying. But again, right tool for the right job. Going back to what the chat though was saying about these people that have literally been deriding Trump. I mean, for crying out loud, Faux Hulk, what's his name? Ruffalo, whoever the jerk is.
Mark Ruffalo.
Just got through playing a parody of Trump in Mickey 15, 16, 17, whatever it is. That Mickey movie. And now he wants Trump to help him?
Well,
now, I really don't...
They think they think they're celebrities, and they think they have special powers over regular people.
See, I don't think Trump is going to just dismiss them out of, tell them to go kick rocks like somebody said. But what he will do is he would make a quip and say, "Oh, really? You guys all rip on me, and then you come and ask me for help." Well, I'll tell you what. Not because you asked, but I'll look into this thing and see if there's anything that I can or should do. Have a nice day. I
don't know. I just wonder. I mean, again, I don't know exactly what they're doing with the machine learning anyway, though. So I don't know if my idea of just having them go.
And you know what? Clue made a great point I hadn't thought about before. And Ruffalo isn't even a Marvel star. His CGI counterpart is the star, not him. That's very true because so many of us are still saying we want Norton back. And they so easily swapped him out. And you know what? I would not have a problem with them swapping out Ruffalo. I don't care if another person is playing Banner. That's fine. I don't care.
I argued at the time when they got rid of Norton, which I didn't think they should have done, but I was like, well, why not just bring Banner back then? And of course, I guess that's because that's a different Hulk universe now. Is that part of the multiverse? Are we going to see him show up? Let's not even go there.
I don't even know.
The multiverse is coming, apparently. Ed Norton is an amazing actor. Yeah, he is. He was in that movie, Complete Unknown, recently. He's gotten older, though.
Well, I am hoping to see him back if Disney can ever manage to start using the properties they have at their disposal and give us an Alita 2. Just saying.
Tron Ares will be in IMAX theaters also. But again, I don't know anything about this movie, so I can't speak to how it is.
The box offices have been terrible lately. They've been terrible lately.
I brought this up because this was last week when that Looney Tunes movie had come out, and I kind of wanted to see how it was. And I'm just going to this is, of course, old news at this point, but they said it was one of the worst box office weekends for a while. You can read the letter, by the way, if the Hollywood types had to the AI people. Anyway, box office, Novocaine tops worst weekend of the year with 8.7 million as audience numbed by new offerings. That's kind of funny. Come on. Isn't it?
Kind of is.
Audience, okay. Talk about a fitting plot for the movie that's winning what appears to be the slowest moving going weekend of 2025 so far at the domestic box office, as well as one of the worst in the post-pandemic era. Paramount's action comedy Novocaine easily topped the domestic chart with 8.7 million, launching to Ice Out Mickey 17, which fell to number 2 in its second frame. However, the studio had hoped to do a closer 10 million. Novocaine stars Jack Quaid as a new kind of action hero who is not so great at dishing out, but boy can he take it, thanks to his genetics, which make him feel no harm. Duking it out for number 3 was Steven Soderbergh's new movie Black Bag and Warner Brothers' ill-fated Mickey 17 with around 7.5 million each. Final numbers will be released Monday. The latter tumbled more than 60% from its opening weekend to finish Sunday with an estimated domestic just north of 33 million and 90.4 million domestically. It's hardly typical to see a weekend where not one picture crosses 10 million, but this weekend's result is an estimated 54.7 million in overall domestic box office. Until now, only 2025 Super Bowl weekend revenue was worse at 55.8 billion. It's likely not a coincidence that the top 5 titles are all received a B cinema score from audiences. Marvel holdover Captain America Brave New World remained high on the chart in its 5th weekend, coming at number 4 with 5.5 million for a North American tally of 190 million. The Mouse House notched another milestone this weekend, becoming the first studio this year to see its films amass more than 1 billion in ticket sales. Back to the hodgepodge of new films, Looney Tunes Movie Day of the Earth stood to open at 3.2 million to round out the top 5 domestically, while indie faith-leaning pick The Last Supper followed with 2.8 million. To say exhibitors are counting the days until Disney's spring live-action event Snow White opens is an understatement. Luckily for them, it will be followed by the video game adaptation of Minecraft movie. Both are tracking to do solid business, with Snow White's eyeing a 50 to 56 million domestic launch next weekend. Well, we'll have news on that for you later. Oh, and is that it? That's it. You there? Did I go blank?
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted.
Okay.
What I wanted to say about this was that, this is of course from
yes,
last week.
Jose. So this was last weekend
because since then, Snow White has come out and it's doing abysmally. I'd like to know what Pamela is smoking here, thinking that Snow White and Minecraft are going to save the theaters. That's just freaking ridiculous. We all know that's BS. And yes, you could argue that, I don't know if this was true this weekend, Snow White may very well be the biggest earner in the theater this week. That doesn't mean it's doing well. It just means that it's up against nothing.
I'm very curious about this Minecraft movie because
it's going to suck. Nobody's going to want to see it.
Are the kids still into Minecraft like they were? Or even if they are, does that translate into them wanting to go see a movie about it?
I was just going to say, either they are not still into it, which would mean they're not going to be interested in this movie, or they are still interested and they don't want to see a Minecraft movie about real people. This is the most ridiculous adaptation I've ever seen. This should be some sort of a 3D animated thing, is what this should be.
Well, it's 3D animated, but it's got Jack Black and Jason Momoa.
It should be they're not a draw. Nobody cares about them. They don't.
Who else is it? Is Kevin Hart in it also, or Danny DeVito? I don't know.
No idea. No, what you do is you make it in the style of the Lego movies, is how you do this. You make it an animated feature. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard or seen.
So that's 87 million globally. I'm wondering what the domestic is for it. I guess we'll have more new news on Snow White next week. We're going to see what the damage is. But it was dead all over town this week, and even at McDonald's, I'll probably see Novocaine. Okay.
Yeah. This is going to be another one of those movies where you have no way of knowing how much they're going to lose on Snow White. This is going to be devastating, which is why they've already, even the last week when they should have been making the last push in marketing for it, they stopped bothering and they started pushing for Lilo and Stitch.
Reimagines starring Mr. Beast and Cynthia Erivo. Is this a real thing? No.
What's reimagined?
I don't know. That's what I'm. Maybe he's meaning it's reimagined with Mr. Beast and Cynthia.
Oh! I see.
Okay. I was about to say that would be an interesting
Adega Outlaw. Choice. Welcome, Adega. So throw in Pedro Pascal. He's in every other thing.
Yeah,
right?
Just stick him in everything. He's great in anything. He's great at playing Pedro Pascal. I'm sorry, I'm being mean to Pedro Pascal.
Deleted scenes is predicting 200 million, and honestly, that's not even going to break even. That is not even going to cover.
That's because these movies never cost that.
Yeah.
They keep doing all. They had a horrible bunch of reshoots on this thing. Disney is notorious for doing
many reshoots. There's been so much having to go back and CG and recolor everything, and yeah.
He means us.
He meant
replaced by Mr. Beast and Cynthia Erivo.
That would be funny. That would be. Oh, geez, Mr. Beast. I'll license it to him to have Mr. Beast take over. Sure.
Oh my goodness! I heard he ran into trouble with one of his co-stars.
Oh, he says it'll lose 200 million. Well, yeah, if it made 200 million, it still would be losing hundreds and hundreds of millions. It's effed. And let's face it, the only career that that girl has now is in Broadway, because nobody's going to hire her for a movie now.
She's got a good singing voice, from what I hear.
Well, that's what I've heard, but good, she can sing. I from what I've seen in the thing, she can't dance. I mean, she can't dance from what I've seen just from the clips.
Oh,
thank you so much, Joe's Atmosphere. For $5, he says, top this weekend is Snow White, 43 million. The rest are below 10 million. And De Niro's new gangster flick only made 3 million. Well, there's some schadenfreude for you, too. And I'll bet you a lot of those movies that made 10 million that you're talking about, they're not even coming out premiering this week. They're probably in their second, third, fourth week. Right? So It'll be interesting to see what the drop-off is on Snow White. I expect it to drop like a stone, because I'll bet you that a lot of the people that saw this movie were the YouTubers that are reviewing it for us.
Probably. Watcher X says, I won't watch Snow White unless I need a nap after a long walk. I heard it's too long, even at like 2 hours or whatever. I heard Gal Gadot is terrible in it too. That was what I heard. We'll have more on it next weekend. Cynthia has a lovely voice. Yeah, that's what I've heard. She was in that Wicked movie. Yeah, I think she's done Broadway as well.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know. Where are movies right now? I guess that should be a topic for another time. But I'm just. Is there anything you're excited
about this
for?
Before, I think the future of film is the independents. People like Tom Conkle.
Maybe, yeah. Formula One looks good. That's a Warner Brothers picture that I saw the trailer for. It looks good. Looks like a good sports racing movie. Brad Pitt's going to be in it. Maybe that'll be good. Mm-hmm. I don't know anything about Tron still, though, and apparently Iger didn't want to talk it up at the investors meeting. Do you think that's something they're throwing on theaters, like with Haunted Mansion, where they're just trying to get it out and get rid of it?
I don't know. Wait a minute. He's talking about the drop-off. He says 43 million for the opening of a major Disney flick. That's horrendous, and it will only go down. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that next week I'm predicting about 20 million. It might make another 20 million.
No one was excited for this movie, and frankly, you didn't really get excitement coming from the Disney end of this either. They were not excited about this movie. They were not enthusiastic. I think the only remake they were less enthusiastic about was the Pinocchio redo that they did with Tom Hanks, which went straight to Disney Plus, right?
Yeah. Don't worry, guys. The Bambi live action is coming soon. Can you say Nightmare Fuel?
I have to say, I don't understand this. Snow White, Pinocchio, Bambi, Fantasia, and Dumbo are the first 5 Walt Disney productions, and are considered by many to be some of the greatest animated pictures of all time, just from technique standpoint, just from the level of artistry that went into making those movies back in the day. And now they're doing all these weird remakes, like the Tim Burton Dumbo remake. Oh God, yeah. That's a topic for another time. That was where they decided, hey, Tim Burton decided, let's make Walt Disney the main villain in the movie, which is basically what it was. It's a funny movie to watch after The Founder, because The Founder and Dumbo have Michael Keaton in both of them. So in The Founder, he kind of gets away with wrongdoing, and in Dumbo, he gets his comeuppance. So it was weird, but it's still not a good movie. For perspective, Cat 4 opening 82 million and still hasn't made 200 million domestically. It wasn't a hit. It probably wasn't the disaster people thought it was going to be. I think the big disaster for Marvel is going to be Thunderbolts. I think that one's going to sink, but we'll see. All right, and that's it. Let's move on to the next thing, which is nothing, because that's it for the night. What have we learned tonight?
We have learned that we have some incredible followers here. I want to thank Joe's Atmosphere, Nate, Geek Flag with Nate Knows, Darth Plato, Maria with T and Telly, and if I missed anyone, I'm really sorry. You guys dropping those super chats, you have no idea how much that encourages us, especially this week. It's been a real challenge for us. If anyone, and of course, every single one of you hitting that like button, just being here chatting with us, we super appreciate all of you for all of that. Members, you guys really are the keeping the lights on type. Speaking of which, does anyone have any insights? What's happened to Disney Sheepherder? I'm not seeing his YouTube channel out there anymore. Sent him a note on X. Haven't heard back from him yet, but his YouTube channel is gone. So if anyone knows what's happened to him, please let me know. If you have a direct line on him, or if you talk to him anytime real soon,
Hold on. He did respond to me.
Okay.
Thanks for asking. YouTube removed my channel. I'm not going to make another. Time to move on. I'll be on Twitter X from time to time. The very best to you and yours. I pretty much sent the same message to your husband.
Okay, so I was streaming, obviously, so I didn't have a chance to check my messages, but that's what happened. Guys, man, gotta hang together. That's why your support is really, really so important. For us, for everyone else that's in the chat, make sure you're following each other's channels. The CluuStudio, the Tired Midnight Blogger, Joe's Atmosphere, all of y'all. Make sure you're following everyone who's in here. Those of you that are members, their channels are highlighted in the description below. You're also going to see their names in just a minute in the closing credits as well. But, look out for each other, because we're all we got.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it from me, Boomer.
Okay, so does Deleted Scenes have anything coming up?
Yes, he does. And if you're watching on my channel or Netter's channel, stay right where you are. You will be forwarded directly to
Deleted Scenes.
By invitation only, I believe it's called. His special guest will be the aforementioned Curtis Selby, the Tired Midnight Blogger.
Right.
That's coming up. I want to say that's coming up in about, an hour and 20 minutes, but it'll take you over there. Go ahead and hit the like button and, make yourself some popcorn and then come back. But definitely appreciate everybody's support.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm working. Well, it's not a matter of moving to Rumble for me. I just got to figure out how to get Rumble integrated into the platform I'm streaming from. And once I do, I will return to streaming out on Rumble at the same time I'm streaming out on X and YouTube, and actually multiple YouTube channels. So it's 12:05 Eastern time, so it's 11:05 our time. So okay, so in about 40 minutes. Well, 35 minutes, something like that. But anyway, so yeah, so Rumble is definitely worthwhile. It's just that there's a learning curve because they're not as easily integrated. It's always the way it is. But yeah. So tomorrow night, members of my channel, in honor of the crap that we're EVMux is Rumble compatible. My friend streams there. If you have some insights into how to connect my Rumble to EVMux, I'd appreciate it. I've just been struggling with it. Let me know if you can help me out with that at all. Anyway, tomorrow night, members only movie night. I will be putting up this week another poll to decide next week's. But this week, in honor of Snow Off-White, I want to present the 2015 Disney's live-action Cinderella, which I consider to be an example of a good use of the live action adaptation of a classic cartoon.
And you'll have some interesting things.
I wish we had gotten that from Snow Off-White this time.
You have some interesting things to say about that movie too during the watch. Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So and remember,
I like the lead actress in that movie.
She wasn't she in Downton Abbey?
I think so. Yeah.
What was her name? It was Lily James. Yeah, I think she was one of the. I think she was one of the characters on that. Anyway, but yes, and if you're not a member on my channel, man, for the price of a super chat, like, I don't know, I think it's like $2, $3. You're a member for a month. You get average of 4 free movies as a member. So maybe think about it. But that's Monday. Tuesday, part 3 of the Twin Peaks fan film, Queen of Hearts, over on Deleted Scenes channel, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. That's live from Sparkwood and 21. Every week we put in about an hour and a half talking about David Lynch, Twin Peaks, and such. And we're currently in the middle of the fan film Queen of Hearts. Hope to see you there. Followed immediately thereafter by the next episode of season 2 of Blake's 7. The episode is called Countdown. It's one of my favorite Blake 7 episodes. I think you guys will like it too. It's heavily focused on Avon and his history, and it's pretty intense. So I hope you guys can join us for that. Of course, Thursday I'll be co-hosting over on Netter's channel, Netter's Network, where we'll just be talking with you guys. We need to get some more guests in.
Yes, absolutely.
So always consider shooting a DM to Netter. Yes, I'm giving you permissions to slip into my wife's DMs. See if we can't boost your channels. And
the other thing is, I'm not just looking for people that want to boost their channels, but if you are a subject matter expert on something you are very passionate about and want other people to know about this thing,
right?
Let me know. I'd love to have someone on where you talk about, I don't know, anything.
We had Tom Conklin talking about his kickstart to get Island in the Stars going. We've had a number of authors who are self-published come to talk about their books and tell you where you can get their books. I haven't done this, and I need to do this. I want to reach out to a couple of toy crafters, see if they'd like to come on and talk with Netter about the boutique toys that they're making, because as Michael French says over at Retro Blasting, the fans are doing the best work.
I would absolutely love that. If, like I said, if there's anything that you are passionate about and you're like, I'd really like to discuss this with other people.
As long as it's at least PG-13.
As long as it's legal. I mean, I can give you helpful hints.
I don't know. Legal actually doesn't cover a lot of ground anymore either.
I could give you helpful hints on where and how to hide a dead body, but that's not exactly
But that would
legal.
probably not be very YouTube friendly. That's true.
Yeah, I'd probably get demonetized for that one.
Absolutely.
But yeah, shoot me a DM. You may have to follow me first before you can message me, because Twitter X is weird, where some people can just DM me and it's fine. Other people have to follow me first. Don't know why. There doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason for it. But yeah, I'd love to hear from y'all. The future is pretty much open, so you can almost pick a day.
Absolutely. And I thought you had, you'd already dropped this comment. I thought I saw this already, Joe's Atmosphere. But of course, thank you for the support. For perspective, Cap 4 made $82 million opening weekend. It still hasn't made $200 million domestic. Schmo White has made half that opening. Not good. Yeah. From what I'm hearing about Cap 4, its biggest problem was all the homework you had to do in order to understand it. If you didn't watch certain movies and certain streaming episodes, people are like, I have no clue what's going on. It makes absolutely zero sense. Can everybody say happy birthday to my wife? I'm going to mispronounce it. Please forgive me if I do. Orelli? Everybody, let's say happy birthday to Orelli.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy
you.
birthday, Orelli. Happy birthday to you.
To you. Was I not in sync?
That doesn't matter. It's fine. Whatever. I mean, look, you're no Rachel Zegler. Curtis
no
Selby
big
saying
bird.
happy birthday. And Clue Channel saying happy birthday, Mrs. Flag. That's actually a good way to put it, too. Mrs. Flag. There you go. But no, thanks, guys. And right. And just a reminder, Friday, we'll be talking Doctor Who. We're going to limit ourselves to the first 3 Doctors. It's probably good to limit us. We can always expand it later on.
Cool.
Boomer? Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yes.
I was asking
Friday.
for your input. Yeah.
No. Yes, Friday. Yes, we'll be doing a Doctor Who chat. I figure we'll focus on the first 3 Doctors, and then we'll move on from there. Sure. There's a lot to talk about with the first 3.
There is.
That is,
and I've missed it, and it's we've had enough to complain about. Let's go back to what we love. It'll be like a mega good old days, right?
Yeah. And
yes.
then if the first 3 are well received, you could do the next 3, and then you stop at a certain point because you don't want to go there.
Yeah. Hey, Doctor Who. Hey,
Tom
Dr.
Baker
Who.
gets his own stream, and then I figured we could do the remaining 3 of the classic, and then we could go on to
what I might do, and I don't normally do this because you guys are already such great supporters of the channel, but maybe I'll try to do one of these goals. They got hey, if we can get this much in super chats or whatever. I'll make it a 2. I'll set a goal because there's something that I want to get. Last night on Big Al's channel, he sent me a picture of a TARDIS decanter.
Ooh.
A glass decanter in the shape of a TARDIS that I would love to get. I got to find out how much it is, and if I can, make that much in super chats, if you guys want to buy it for me. That will also tell me that you guys are interested enough in Doctor Who that we can do Doctors 4, 5, 6, and 7. We can finish out the or do we give Tom Baker his own stream?
Tom Baker gets his own stream.
Okay, we could do that too. We'll talk more about that on Friday. No, that's absolutely fair. I may even wear it for that.
I figure 5, 6, and 7 can get their own stream. We are going to spend some time on Colin Baker. I know you're not the biggest fan of his era, but
I've come around on Colin Baker. Netter and I met
you like him as an actor, as a person. You just didn't like his episodes.
And based on things he said, I went back and we rewatched those episodes, and I can forgive. And he
gets better with Perry as the show goes on.
Perry really did save his appearances because Perry, wow.
Yes.
Okay, her accent may not have been great, but boy, wow. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's Friday. Saturday, of course, then we'll be over on Netter's Network for Retro Cinema. It's Bruce Lee's The Fist of Fury. Right.
Oh, wow.
Cool. Yep. So, and that is the week. And so now you only have about 20 minutes before deleted scenes. So we'll have to wrap this up here. I'm done. Cool. Any last thoughts? Any last words?
No, okay, I think we covered a lot tonight. I'd like to thank everybody for popping in here and sharing your comments. And let me see. A few of my friends have moved on to Rumble. Yeah, like I said, we do try to keep stuff over there as well. Yeah. All right, y'all. Y'all have a good week. And
let me see if I can do this outro without screwing it up. Thanks, guys.
Yes.
We'll take care, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.